capacity restrictions have been lifted. In accordance with the CDC recommendations, as you saw the sign outside, we strongly recommend that you wear a mask and social distance. Now, you don't have to, but we strongly recommend it. I'm wearing mine. I am vaccinated. I hope everyone gets vaccinated. People have different opinions about that, but we appreciate everybody trying to go by those guidelines. So we have provided sanitation wipes, so when you come and speak, if you'll wipe the microphone off and the table, just as a caution. We really appreciate everybody helping with that. So thank you, everyone. I'm trying to, I know that the mask kind of muffles me a little bit, but I'm trying to lead by example, so we appreciate that. So also, if you would, please make sure your phones are on silent or turn the noise piece off your cell phones just in the meeting. We appreciate that very much too. Also, I was not here at the last meeting, and I know that we have a new commissioner. He's not really new anymore. He's been here a meeting, and so I want to introduce Commissioner Ed Henley, who is to my right, and we appreciate him being here. Thank you for your service to the city, and we look forward to working with you. All right, so we'll get to the agenda. And so on our agenda is item B, which is the adoption of the agenda. Commissioners, you've seen the agenda. It was sent to you all and put on our website. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Commissioner Tibbs, motion.
Second.
And Councilor Murphy seconds, and that's proper motion. Second, any discussion on the agenda? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and the agenda is adopted. Next is item C, which is the approval of the May 27th, 2021 minutes, and those have been posted on the website and given out to you earlier. And is there a motion to adopt the minutes? A motion, Commissioner Tibbs moves, and is there a second? And there's this Commissioner Johnson seconds, and any other discussion on the minutes, additions, or edits? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. The minutes are adopted. So now we go on to item D, which is the recognition of the council members. We always appreciate the council members because we work with them so very closely. And so we try to take the council members as we see you come in, to be fair. And so please come and speak if you would like. And so first of all would be Councilman Young. Would you like to come on up? And we appreciate you coming down. You might have to turn the microphone on. Yeah. Thank you, Councilman. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And also, congratulations, y'all, on this is your first meeting that's normal, might be still a bit strong of a word, but with all your staff all in one place and not with anyone remote. So it's like a family reunion, I suppose. But hopefully it goes better than my family reunions. I actually would have preferred to have been able to stay when the case is heard. It's item number 25 on the agenda. It is a rezoning on Liberty Lane. However, I need to jump into traffic and head back to Gouldsville for a city commission meeting, so I'm going to speak to y'all about that now. Essentially what this is a little background on that area because it does struggle with access. If y'all are familiar with where Vietnam Veterans Boulevard comes off of I-65, Vietnam Vets is also called 386 or the bypass. It's what takes you up to Hendersonville and Gallatin. And many decades ago when TDOT built it, it cut through the middle of several large parcels of land that all had frontage on Gallatin Road. And it kind of locked in this one area with only just Liberty Lane coming off Gallatin Road connecting back to it. The bypass is in the way for it to have any sort of other connection to Gallatin Road. If you're looking at it on a map, it looks like there could be a connection to Conference Drive. And in fact, the intersection on Conference Drive is kind of stubbed out like that would have been something that could have been done. However, as I've tried to figure out, the change in grade is very significant in that building a public road that would make a connection to Liberty Lane up to Conference Drive would be challenging at best, just due to the slope of that road and how quickly that grade changes. I say all that to say that due to those access issues, any development on this particular site, regardless of the density of the base zoning on it, is actually going to be limited due to the fire marshals or the fire code. And per the fire marshal, a maximum number of dwelling units at 200 units. So I say that to make sure that though it is a request to go to RM, which on the surface appears like an increase in density, that density is still going to be capped at 200 dwelling units per the fire code. The applicant is requesting the change from R&RS to RM simply to provide a mix of product available. Rather than just building single-family homes, it's the desire of the applicant to be able to also offer some attached townhomes back there for sale. This site backs up to Windsor Green subdivision, which is in the city limits of the city of Goulitsville, and there are no connections from Liberty Lane to Windsor Green. That had been explored for emergency purposes, as it would be beneficial to the Liberty Lane area having secondary emergency access. And it would be beneficial to the Windsor Green neighborhood, as they have over 400 housing units and only one way in and out of that neighborhood. However, that was not something I think that was going to be able to be worked out. So that brings us back to working with the fire code and that cap of 200 units. So I believe there's at least a couple folks that have brought up the idea of trying to create an SP and try to solve some concerns with the community. However, I feel like that would not be productive, and I say that because the concerns that I have heard and what most people seem to be upset about is that right now this is land that is wooded and backs up to a neighborhood, and there seems to be the desire for that to remain wooded and not developed. And right, wrong, or indifferent, we just know that that is not a realistic thing anymore, and that the current zoning on the property does allow a neighborhood to be built. And so this is simply to allow a mix of options. I am fully supportive of the rezoning request, and I'm happy to answer any questions that y'all have of me before I go sit in the parking lot known as 65 North.
Thank you, Councilman. We appreciate that. And just for the public, when we get to item 25, that's when everyone else can speak. So I just want to make that clarification, because I saw some folks raise your hand. So we'll get to you all and make sure that everyone is heard. So thank you, Councilman. Appreciate it. Next, I saw Council Lady Evans. You want to go ahead? Oh, okay. Thank you, Council Lady, for coming. We appreciate that. And then Council Lady Roberts. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
So nice to be back. Thank you all.
You'll have to turn the microphone on. Yep.
All right.
Yep, perfect.
All right, great. So I'm speaking to number 22, which is the tree preservation legislation. So the intent of this is to establish legislation that we can implement trees without, that go with Nashville Next and will help create a tree canopy. I don't believe that before we had legislation that we were looking at streets as the tree, what's going to happen with the trees. We were looking at the streets, from a zoning perspective. So this should be something that gives the Planning Commission a tool and then later can be implemented by the Codes Department. And I think it'll be a big help in going forward. They always say the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago and the second best time is today. So I think we're kind of at that juncture. So I would ask that you please pass this today.
Thank you, Council Lady. Appreciate it very much. And then, so I think that is all of the council members. Director Kemp, I didn't see any other. I'll make sure. Lisa, do you see any? Okay. All right, so that concludes item D. Now we're on to item E, which is items for deferral or withdrawal. And Lisa?
Thank you. We have the following, am I on, is this on?
Yeah, but you may need to talk a little closer.
Okay. We have the following items for deferral or withdrawal. On page 1 of your agenda, item 1A, 2021 CP 008001, the North Nashville Community Plan Amendment. Staff recommendation is to defer to the July 22nd Planning Commission meeting. The associated case 1B, 2021 SP 004001, 41st Avenue North. Staff recommendation is to defer to the July 22nd, 2021 meeting. Item number 2 on page 4 of your agenda, 2021 SP 020001, Ben Allen Ridge. Staff recommendation is to defer to the June 24th, 2021 meeting. Item number 3, 2021 SP 025001, the Bowen House at Knollmere Place. Staff recommendation is to defer to the July 22nd, 2021 meeting. And I would note that Commissioner Blackshear is recusing herself from that item. Item number 4, 2021 SP 029001, Hilltop Estates. Staff recommendation is to defer to the June 24th, 2021 meeting. Item number 5, 2020 S 179001, Entrust Homes on Paragon Mills. Staff recommendation is to defer to the June 24th, 2021 meeting. Item number 6, 2021 S 060001, Scruggs Estates. Staff recommendation is to defer to the July 22nd, 2021 meeting. Item number 7 on page 5 of your agenda, 2021 S 069001, Heartland North. Staff recommendation is to defer to the June 24th, 2021 Planning Commission meeting. And I would like to note that Commissioner Blackshear is recusing herself from that item. Item number 8, 2021 S 072001, Mossman Heights Subdivision. Staff recommendation is to defer to the June 24th, 2021 meeting. Item number 9, 2021 Z 049PR 001. It's a request to rezone to MULA-NS on Hart Street. Staff recommendation is to defer indefinitely. Item number 14 on page 6 of your agenda, 2021 S 044001, Temple Heights. Staff recommendation is to defer to the June 24th, 2021 meeting. Item number 19 on page 7 of your agenda, 2021 Z 050PR 001. It's a request to rezone to RS20 on Earhart Road. Staff recommendation is to defer to the June 24th, 2021 meeting. That's it.
Thank you, Lisa. And so, commissioners and the viewing public, these are the items. Let me read these and then make sure I'm correct, Lisa. So these are the items for deferral withdrawal, and that is item 1A, 1B, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 14, and 19. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, commissioners, you've heard the items for deferral withdrawal. Is there a motion?
Motion.
There's been a motion, and is there a second? A second, and proper motion. Second, any discussion? We'll make sure we, and seeing no discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and those items are deferred or withdrawn. Now we're on to item F, which is the consent agenda. Lisa?
As information for our audience, if you are not satisfied with the decision made by the Planning Commission today, you may appeal the decision by petitioning for a writ of cert with the Davidson County Chancery or Circuit Court. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of the entry of the Planning Commission's decision. To ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been met, please be advised that you should contact independent legal counsel. As noticed to the public, items on the consent agenda will be voted on at a single time. No individual public hearing will be held, nor will the commission debate these items unless a member of the audience or the commission requests that the item be removed from the consent agenda. The following items are on the consent agenda. On page 5 of your agenda, item number 10, 2021 SP 030001, Tulip Grove and Central Pike. It's a request to rezone from R8 to SP for properties located on Central Pike at the corner of Tulip Grove and Central Pike to permit 208 multifamily units. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions and disapprove without all conditions. Item number 11, 2021Z004TX001. It's a request to amend sections 1708-030 and 1716-050 of the Metro Zoning Code to remove alternative financial services uses from ONCN-CNA, CNNS, and CNANS zoning districts. Staff recommendation is to approve. Item number 12 on page 6 of your agenda, 2021 SP 018001, 3rd and Monroe. It's a request to rezone from IR to SP for property located at 1227 3rd Avenue North to permit a mixed-use development. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions and disapprove without all conditions. Item number 13, 2021 SP 042001, 2871 Ned Shelton SP. It's a request to rezone from R20 to SP for properties located on Ned Shelton Road to permit uses of IWD. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions and disapprove without all conditions. Item number 15, 2021 S 045001, re-subdivision of lots 5 and 6 Airport Logistics. It's a request for final plat approval to create 4 lots on properties located on Reynolds Road and Old Murfreesboro Pike. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions, and I would note that Commissioner Blackshear is recusing herself from that item. Item number 16, 2021 S 067001, The Village at Our Place. It's a request for concept plan approval to create 6 lots on property located on Dickerson Pike. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions, and I would note that Commissioner Blackshear is recusing herself from that item. Item 17, 2021 S is 107001, the re-subdivision of Lot 2, Rivergate Park. It's a request for final plat approval to create 3 lots on property located on Gallatin Pike. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions, and I would note that Commissioner Blackshear is recusing herself from that item. Item 18, 89P018001, Bradford Hills Plaza, the Gillespie Meadows Commercial PUD, revision and final. It's a request to revise the preliminary plan and for final site plan approval for a portion of a planned unit development located on Nolensville Pike to permit a 4,600 square foot of restaurant use. Staff recommendation is to approve, and I would like to note that Commissioner Blackshear is recusing herself from that item. Item number 20, 2021 Z053PR001. It's a request to rezone from RS 7.5 to R8A for properties located on Radnor Street. Staff recommendation is to approve. And on page 9, under other business, item number 29, to accept the director's report.
Thank you, Lisa. And so, commissioners, the consent, I'm going to read these consent agenda items, and Lisa, make sure that we get all of these. And so I have items number 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, and 29. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. Commissioners, you've heard the items to be passed on the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
Motion.
All right, Council Lady makes a motion. Is there a second? And Commissioner Johnson seconds. Is there any discussion on the consent agenda? Seeing no discussion, all in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and the consent agenda is adopted. So that brings us to the items to be considered, which is item G. And those particular items for everyone that I have is item 21, 22, 23A and B, 24, and 25. So 5 items to be considered. Is that correct, Lisa? All right. So, Commissioners, before we get started, I know I made a few housekeeping notes, but just to note that we are fully back in person. So we're pleased to be back in person. Per the governor's executive order that ran out, we're required to meet in person. And so here we are, and we appreciate everybody coming back. So that means that in person, we did kind of a hybrid getting to this point in the last couple of meetings and took calls. Now we're not taking calls. So if you want to post comments, there are several ways instead of just phoning in. You can provide email comments like always. And we did that until 3 p.m. Tuesday of this week. And so I appreciate everybody coming down, also commenting by email. And so those comments have been uploaded on the website, and everyone can see those. And so, Commissioners, I know you get see those. So in order for you the public to address items, you have to come up and speak. We're going back to our normal rules process, which is we take supporters first, like a normal debate format, which is in our rules. And I'm going to discuss that. The director and I had a brief discussion about if we want to continue that, and I'm going to talk about that at the end of the meeting, our traditional format, or if you all liked taking supporters and opponents at the same time. So one thing to consider, I think there's positives and negatives for both, but I really want to get everyone's input. And so we'll talk about that at the end of the meeting under the executive committee orders. So we'll discuss that. But our rules state that we do supporters first and opponents next under our rules. So we're going back to that normal process tonight. I want everybody to be clear. So when somebody comes up to speak, just if you would, please, after you speak, if you could wipe down the microphone and the table area, and we really appreciate everyone doing that. So I think we are ready for item 21, and so we'll have the presentation. Come on up. Welcome. So we haven't presented in person in a long time, so just you'll have to bear with us. We really appreciate it. All right, here we go.
That was not painfully clear.
Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Amelia Lewis with the Planning Department, and I will be presenting item 21 tonight, which is a proposed text amendment relating to the rezoning of Metro-owned property.
Amelia, would you mind speaking up just a little bit or getting a little closer to the microphone?
Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So the proposed text amendment is on the screen. It proposes to change Title 17 and portion of Title 2. And Title 17 is our general zoning regulations, as well as Title 2 is focused on administration. Because we are the Planning Commission, we will only make a recommendation on Title 17 tonight. Chapter 1740 generally discusses procedures related to the rezoning process. Section B of this zoning code specifically identifies who may request the rezoning of Metro-owned property. As currently in the code, which is the section that is proposed to be amended, which is shown in the strike through there. As it is currently in the code, the rezoning of Metro-owned property may only be initiated by the mayor, the head of the department or agency to which the property is assigned, or by the director of public property administration. The proposed text amendment would remove the section as it currently exists, shown in strike through, and replace it with a new section B, as shown on the screen and underlined, that would permit only the district council member of the district where the Metro-owned property is located to be able to initiate the rezoning of that property. Okay, so as the proposed legislation would impact the mayor's office and the Department of Finance, planning staff reached out to these agencies to understand how the proposed legislation, how the existing legislation works and any potential ramifications from the proposed amendment. So the typical process outlined to planning is whoever is initiating it, one of the three agencies that are permitted in the code currently, they typically contact the council member representing the property and ask if they would sponsor the application through the rezoning process. As you guys are familiar, the rezoning process would come through Planning Commission and Council and have the standard 3 hearings prior to being signed into effect. As a sponsor of the request, if agreed upon by the council member has the opportunity to represent the request for their district, work along with the applicant through the rezoning, and ultimately retain the authority granted to the council member through the rezoning process. This also includes the ability to withdraw the request during the council hearings. As district council members retain a significant level of involvement in the rezoning process as the code currently functions, including the rezoning of Metro-owned property and the individuals who are requesting to permit the rezoning of Metro-owned property are all responsible for advocating for Metro in various capacities. The removal of them from the proposed text amendment would significantly impact their ability to do so. Therefore, staff recommends disapproval of the proposed text amendment.
Good job, Amelia. First time back in like a year and a half.
A little rocky to
or
start,
so.
but that's okay.
Good job. Thank you. And so now we'll open this item for public hearing. The applicant is the council member, and I do not see Council Member Hall in the audience, which means we'll go to the public comment now. So supporters, are there any supporters that would like to speak in support? Come on up to the microphone if you would like to speak in support. Seeing none, anyone like to speak in opposition? Please come up to the microphone. We'll take our time here. We're in no rush. Make sure everybody's comfortable. All right, seeing no one wishing to speak in opposition, no need for a rebuttal. The council member is not here. So I declare the public hearing closed, and so we're up for discussion. Commissioner Tibbs, you want to go first?
Sure.
Oh, you got to do, and remember, Commissioner, you got to do your own microphone. There.
Trying to think of something clever to say, but I can't. But anyway, so basically, is this adding the council person, or is this substituting the council person? The last part, I couldn't read it quick enough.
Yeah, sorry about that. So it's on the screen. Again, it would actually be removing the people who are currently permitted to initiate zonings of Metro-owned property, which includes the mayor, the head of the department or agency to which the property is assigned, or the director of public property administration. It would be removing those and adding the council member.
Okay. I thought I was getting that. Yeah, it seems like that we wouldn't want to totally make that change. I guess I definitely look forward to hearing what Councilman Lady Murphy says about this. I could see them being a part of it, maybe one of the people part of it, since they're asked to carry it forward. But it seems like as the owner, they should be able to initiate, just like any owner could, for that matter. But so right now, I'll still go with staff recommendation. But I'm interested in hearing more about the legislative process.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Blackshear?
When I first read this proposal, it didn't seem that controversial, but when I read the response from the mayor's office and Department of Finance, I thought that was really instructive about how much authority the council members already have over it, and that the citizens of Davidson County are all owners, and therefore the folks who are responsible for initiating the request should be those who are, in the words of the Department of Finance, responsive to the constituency of the county as a whole. So I would be in favor of staff's recommendation. And to your point, Commissioner Tibbs, they did indicate there is in 2017 legislation that would have added the council member, but that was deferred indefinitely and ultimately withdrawn. So maybe there were conversations that Council Lady Murphy is privy to that would be instructive for us, but I would be in favor of staff's recommendation.
Council Lady?
Thank you. On the 2017 legislation, Amelia, do you have any history on that you can share with us?
Hi. So that legislation was initiated at council, and it would have added council member to the parties that were already listed, whereas this replaces with only council member. It was referred to the Planning Commission. We had begun our review, but it never actually got to the point where it was heard by the Planning Commission, so we didn't actually, staff never formally made a recommendation, nor did the Planning Commission, and then it was ultimately withdrawn before it got to that point.
Who was the sponsor of that?
I believe that was former council member Hastings.
So I do have some, I guess, a little bit stronger feelings on this one. Having been through the process of rezoning property in my district that is Metro owned, I guess two major times I've done this. One is we were downzoning Estes, and Woodmont Park was part of that, where Woodmont School used to be. And so I remember the conversation of, can I be the applicant, or do I have to get Metro to sign off, so on and so forth. And then also rezoning the Metro Salt property, which was kind of a condition of me letting that be sold through the council process as well. But that the sale of that property was initiated by the administration, as previous administrations have done so often, to balance our budget by selling real estate property, which triggered, as Commissioner Johnson will remember, some other legislation that she helped me sponsor through the council. So while I think the analysis and the note from the administration could be read as an accurate portrayal of how rezonings happen, I think the fact that we have a very strong mayor charter government set up, that I don't think this legislation is the absolute correct option for us. I would rather see what has been proposed before, adding council members to this list, because so currently if the administration wanted to file this legislation, say they wanted to rezone something in my district, and I was opposed to that, maybe my whole constituency was opposed to that, they can get someone else to sponsor it. It doesn't have to be, if I say no, that doesn't mean that it's dead. Now, granted, if I'm the sponsor, I can withdraw that legislation as the sponsor without objection. But if it's going through the process, another council member could sponsor that. So typically, like if I had a conflict and needed to recuse myself from a rezoning in my district, I would ask either a logistically similar council member, or I would ask an at-large member to carry that legislation. And I would imagine that is the same thing that is set up right now. So if I didn't want to rezone something in my district, the administration could simply go around me and have another council member do that. Now, we do have rules at the council where if someone files legislation dealing with something solely in my district, it is automatically deferred 30 days or one meeting. So there are some protections for the district council member in that regard. But when it comes to zoning in our public property, I think it would be wise to add the council member as a check and balance. So I guess my next question would be since this has two parts, let me back that up too, because since we as the commission are not making a recommendation on both parts, I have a question about if we disapprove this, what is the vote count? Because the second piece of this legislation is extremely important for accountability. over the past, so I've been on the council since 2015. That means I have served under 3 mayors. And each administration has basically promised, when I've asked them, to give us a list of public property in our district. And yet somehow that slips through the cracks and we're never given that. I thought it would be logical for during budget season to do that. So the second piece of this legislation, I think, is really important and needs to go through. So my concern is, if we disapprove this legislation and it is not, and if we disapprove the council rezoning piece of it, how is that going to affect the vote count if that part is not amended out? Because these are 2 different issues that we're not making a recommendation on. And I would think that one wouldn't normally need the 27 votes, but the other would. So if legal.
I'm not sure about the answer to that question. We need to check with Mr. Cooper on that.
Okay. I think that is, well, I think this legislation needs to pass on through because we need the information. I mean, there's no reason why the administration and director of public policy or public property doesn't give council members that already, especially with our CIB coming up next week. I'm a little hesitant of whether we want to make any vote tonight without knowing that information because it's kind of a forked legislation at this point. But I see the value in, rather than what Councilman Hall has proposed, but adding council member into the list. Maybe not district council member, but council member into section B there. So that's kind of where I come down on this. I think the second piece of it is we need to get that part done, but I realize they're married together in this legislation. So I think I would feel more comfortable if we knew what the ramifications were on both pieces before we make a vote, so.
Well, she has the floor.
So Lisa, let's ask this question. The question is what's the time? Is there a timing issue on this legislation, or where are we on timing?
I'm actually pulling up the
Process.
legislation right now, so
Okay.
give me 1 second while I get my
We'll-
computer.
May I ask
rolling.
Council Lady a question, and maybe staff might do it while she still has the
Go
floor?
ahead, Commissioner Tibbs.
Has there ever been an incident where you or any council person wanted to rezone public, Metro-owned property, but Metro, you had the resistance where you wanted to do it? I'm using it as an example, but the mayor or whatever, they did not want to do it. Would we be setting up a issue with that?
Council Lady?
I think that could be set up the same way that it can be set up in reverse now, where the administration wants to rezone something and I don't as a district council member. So the reverse could happen, which I think is why we have different branches of government, right? And supposedly equal balance among those branches at times. But again, just as the administration points out, we too, as a council, we don't have, well, there is a thing as councilmanic courtesy, as my colleagues will remember, but that does not reign true on every decision, right? So if I filed a rezone a parcel and the administration is against it, they can whip those votes just as I need to whip those votes to get it through. And in that case, the administration still remains more powerful because they have the purse strings much tighter than the council does. So I think this is an important check and balance that we need to explore further.
Thank you, Council Lady.
Hi, Chairman. So that legislation has been filed and is scheduled for a public hearing on July 6th, meaning that it could be deferred one meeting to the June 24th meeting here, so long as it had that recommendation prior to the public hearing.
That's helpful. Thank you. Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you, Chair. It would be so nice to hear from sponsor of the legislation why he feels the need to eliminate administration, director, assessor, and so forth, and then replaced solely with a council member. Not knowing the specific reason, I have great concern because the zoning is not a regular parcel, but just strictly Metro-owned property. So that means owned by Metro, meaning owned by public as well. So it's not, even though located in one district, does not belong to one district. So in that sense, I think eliminating administration or metro agency, director of the property, is a huge mistake. But typically, under the ideal situation, when administration initiate those zone change, work with the district council member hand in hand. But sometimes reality does not happen, occasionally it does not happen. So in that sense, adding council member to that equation may make more sense. But not knowing why this legislation is initiated, I'm a bit hesitant. But I do caution, as of right now, eliminating those administration, mayor's office is a huge mistake. I think that's certainly I'm not in favor of. Thank you.
Commissioner Henley.
Well, I'd like to recognize what our council member has stated. I understand that the second part of this legislation, it makes absolute sense to me. It's a list of property that should be readily available, particularly to our council members, if not to the public. But I'll also, to save time and be succinct, I'll echo Commissioner Johnson. In my opinion, I really truly think that it needs to either remain as is and or be amended with just adding a council member, but not to eliminate our administration or our department heads and certain staff members.
Thank you, Commissioner. So we're ready for a motion. So there has been kind of a loose request to maybe defer till the 24th meeting from the council lady. Council lady, is that what you're thinking, or what are you?
I guess let me kind of clarify and rephrase. Yeah. I would be comfortable making a motion for approval with this legislation as amended, that it just adds council member rather than deleting, instead of replacing section B, that council member is added in there. Council member specifically, not district member, and then recommending approval that way. Or otherwise, I think that we do need to defer it to know about the vote kind of severability.
Council lady, I think that's probably right. And the thing that I'm always hesitant upon is making oral motions without having things in writing. And then also, to be fair, I think, potentially we urge the council member and or an administrative representative from the administration to be here as well. So, I always side on trying to be fair to everybody. And since we don't have to vote tonight, it can be deferred to the 24th meeting. And I think that since there was no public comments, that we wouldn't need to open the public hearing back up, but we just defer the meeting without a public hearing maybe.
I would be comfortable making that motion with the clarity that the administration or the council member would still be able to speak. I just want to make sure that either, if we close the public hearing, does that close off? Councilman Hall is obviously the applicant, so I want to clarify whether the applicant can speak, and then clarifying whether the administration would be counted as public hearing or not.
That's a very good point. Probably, I think, let's ask our attorney. Probably we should open the public hearing back up, probably.
Yeah, I'd recommend that the whole public hearing remain open.
Yeah, I figured. Okay, so
I'll make that motion to defer one meeting and keep the public hearing open.
With the expectation that the administration is here to comment.
In the hopes and expectation and
that the council member and okay, yes.
I'll second that motion, but I just make sure that they have understood the record, that what we're already, basically the comments that we have talked about adding council person. I'd like to make sure that's already discussed. And
I know our director will convey that to the administration, right?
So noted.
Thank you. All right. So that's a proper motion and second. Is there any other discussion?
I have a question.
Yeah, Commissioner Blackshear.
If we could figure out, I guess, more of the legislative history behind that 2017 legislation, that would be helpful too. And I know it never came to us, so it might just have to be something done in concert with the council, but that might be instructive.
Very good point.
I also have
Commissioner Henley? Go
Thank
ahead.
you, Chair. Also have a request that there's at least some legal opinion or description of what that means by adding the council member. If it means that a council member can initiate, sponsor, carry, and have no input from any administrative body, I think it's important to understand that that's a trigger of what that additive language means.
I know Alex and the director are, is that, okay. Any good discussion? Any other discussion, commissioners? Just to remind everybody, we are on the motion to defer one meeting to the June 24th meeting. And there was a motion second, and now any other discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and it's deferred to the June 24th meeting and still be open for public hearing. All right, so now we are on item 22. All right, so item 22. I think, is that?
No, she's coming up.
There we, yeah. All right. You kind of got to speak a little louder and into the microphone, Harriet. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Harriet Jamison Brooks. The next item on the agenda is item 22, a request to amend the West Nashville Community Plan to create a street tree plan for Robertson Avenue. The request is for a minor plan amendment to amend the West Nashville Community Plan on various parcels located along Robertson Avenue between Briley Parkway and Annex Avenue. Planning staff's recommendation is to approve. Plans for street trees or streetscapes allow for the application and implementation of design standards for street trees or streetscapes for a specific geographic area within Davidson County. The Metropolitan Planning Commission may adopt the plan as a major or minor plan amendment or amendment to the major and collector street plan. The study area encompasses a mixture of medium-density 1 and 2 family residential, R6, R7.5, and R8, with commercial service, CS, office and residential, OR20, industrial restrictive, IR, and specific plan. 3 policy areas in the T4 urban transect are applicable to the study area: T4 urban neighborhood evolving, T4 urban neighborhood maintenance, and T4 urban neighborhood center. Robertson Avenue is a critical collector avenue in West Nashville, immediately northwest of the Briley Parkway and I-40 interchange, and west of the rapidly developing Nations Urbandale neighborhood. Anticipating transformation into a mixed-use urban corridor, this plan utilizes blossoming native understory trees spaced every 20 feet to provide the framework for an iconic streetscape along the 1.2-mile length of Robertson Avenue between Briley Parkway and Annex Avenue. When property is redeveloped on Robertson Avenue or vacant property is developed, compliance with the plan is required. Base zoning district standards that are not varied by the provisions set forth in the plan shall apply to all property within the plan boundary. Variances to the plan may be granted at the discretion of the urban forester. The street tree plan highlights Robertson Avenue as a distinct connector in West Nashville and acknowledges street trees as a critical component of the streetscape experience. The street tree plan works within the framework of existing zoning, policy guidance, and the major and collector street plan to enable a more pedestrian-friendly and enhanced streetscape. Staff finds the proposed street tree plan to be consistent with the policy guidance, and staff's recommendation is to approve. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate that. And so we'll open this item for public hearing. And then on item 22, the council lady and the planning department, we're really the applicants. And so that brings us to the public comment now. And so on this item, we'll start with obviously supporters. So is there any supporters that would like to speak on this item? If you'll come up to the microphone. We'll make sure we get everybody. All right, seeing no one, anyone in opposition that would like to speak against the item? I want to make sure. Okay, seeing none, we will not have a rebuttal, and the council member already spoke. Are there any other council members on this item? Make sure. All right, seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed, and so we'll start. How about with Commissioner Henley? You want to go first?
Thank you, Chair. Well, I'd like to just pick up where the council member left off and not express my extreme bias because I am a board member of the Tree Foundation. So I am someone who supported the initial plan, and I will support this one as well.
Excellent. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. I like our fellow Commissioner Henley. I am a tree lover, and I think this is a great ordinance, and it makes sense to have a kind of selected flowering tree in the specific, street. So I would love to see those kind of legislation going into more, urban corridor. So kind of spread up uniquely different trees going into different neighborhood. So I am enthusiastically support this legislation.
Thank you. Council lady?
Well, seeing as I just requested this legislation be drafted for 3 different streets on my district, I think I'm going to be pretty supportive. But can we clarify for the record, how does this relate and because this is the first one we've had before us after we've passed legislation, how does this play with the the tree requirements for the lot, for the parcel that is required anywhere for new builds and things?
Sure. So this works with existing legislation. Trees that are planted will be able to count towards the tree density units that are required for a project, and the legislation is triggered whenever sidewalks are required or triggered for a potential project. So it is just adding a kind of extra layer of design accountability in terms of being able to specify what species or what the placement is or that kind of thing.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Blackshear.
I'm in support.
Commissioner Tibbs.
I make a motion to approve.
That's a proper motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Commissioner Johnson seconds it. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Item 22 is adopted. So now we are on to item 23, which, as you all know, we'll hear the presentation on both A and B. We will take separate votes on those once we finish the discussion period. So we are ready for the presentation. Oh, we're having technical difficulties, but we'll get there.
Okay. Sorry.
There we go. All right, perfect.
Okay. Hi, Commissioners. I'm Anna Greider with the Planning Department. I'm presenting item 23A, the Antioch Priest Lake Community Plan Amendment, and immediately following, Abby Rickoff will present the associated rezoning. So, getting closer. Okay. So we're in the southeast part of Davidson County, close to Rutherford County. If you can see the small red dot on your screen, that is the plan amendment area. So we are east of I-24 and west of Percy Priest Lake. To look a little closer, the property is along Hobson Pike, just north of the intersection with Hamilton Church Road. The site is currently vacant and abuts Windhaven Shores subdivision to the north, and there's a Dollar General and 2 gas stations to the south at the Hamilton Church Road intersection. The immediate surrounding area has a suburban development pattern with a number of vacant parcels, as you can see, and to the rear, a TVA tower and lines clip the back corner of the site and run generally parallel to Hobson Pike. The applicant's request is to change, is for the property that's outlined with the solid red line, to change the policy from suburban neighborhood evolving to suburban neighborhood center to support their rezoning request. During the application process, planning staff included the adjacent parcel outlined with the dashed line for a wider study area boundary, as the neighborhood center policy is intended to be applied to multiple properties around major intersections. Therefore, the study area includes the adjacent parcel to the south. Following community input and staff analysis, which I'll summarize in the next section, planning staff recommends suburban neighborhood center for the front 350 feet of both properties along Hobson Pike, shown with the dotted pattern, and transition policy for the rear of both properties, shown with the hatched pattern. Therefore, staff's recommendation is to approve suburban neighborhood center and transition policy on both properties. Looking a little closer at the current policies in the area, the Antioch Priest-Lake Community Plan uses community character policies tailored to the suburban character of neighborhoods throughout this planning area. The suburban neighborhood evolving policy currently applied to the properties is applied to much of the surrounding area, as you can see in the light beige color. This policy does not support office uses, which is why the applicant is requesting a policy change. The neighborhood center policy is applied to the properties directly to the south and west in that darker yellow color. Civic policy in the blue is applied to schools in the area, and open space policy in the dark green to Percy Priest Lake, and conservation to the lake itself, and Savage Branch Creek, which runs to the north of the property, as well as to areas of steep slopes. The applicant team has held several meetings over the last 8 months with the community to discuss the proposal for the site, and these were held both prior to and following the required planning-led community meeting. On March 4th, the planning-led virtual community meeting was held. Approximately 19 people attended. A number of attendees were residents of the Windhaven Shores subdivision and of the wider Antioch Priest Lake area. The meeting was available via WebEx and streamed live on Metro Nashville Network's Facebook page. The recording was then uploaded to Planning's YouTube channel, and to date has received 26 views. At the meeting, planning staff outlined the plan amendment request, and the applicant presented their plans for the rezoning. Questions and comments were then taken from attendees, and the discussion specific to the policy change centered on 2 main topics. The first, clarifying the need for the requested change, as church and daycare functions may be permitted as special exceptions under current zoning. It is the office use that is triggering the need for a rezoning. The second was discussing the inclusion of the adjacent parcel to the south within the plan amendment area and the application of T3 neighborhood center and transition policy. A few attendees were concerned that including that adjacent parcel at this time could limit the amount of community engagement on any future development plans for that lot. Other questions heard at the meeting included the types of uses proposed at the church, the traffic impacts of church services and other functions, potential infrastructure improvements to public streets, and community use of the community room. Having heard this range of community concerns and questions, the applicant decided to defer their applications to allow for further community conversations. And the applicant has met on several occasions with interested community members following the planning-led community meeting to address these concerns. Planning staff also met with the applicant team and a number of community members on April 29th to answer questions and review the progress of the community conversations. Planning staff at that time described in more detail the proposed application of neighborhood center to the front 350 feet of both properties and transition policy to the rear. My analysis will focus on the 4 items on the slide, and we'll be considering both neighborhood center policy and transition policy. I'm going to start with the guidance from Nashville Next. This slide shows the growth and preservation concept map from Nashville Next. The large light yellow color is neighborhood, designated as neighborhood, which are residential areas intended to offer a mix of housing types with smaller civic and employment areas and small neighborhood centers. Therefore, the application of neighborhood center policy is appropriate because of its intent to create those small neighborhood centers in strategic locations. Applying the transition policy to the rear of the properties provides an additional level of guidance on how to appropriately transition to the residential character of the surrounding area off those major streets. First, on the policy application, to look at neighborhood center policy, which is intended to create suburban neighborhood centers designed to serve the surrounding neighborhoods by providing a mix of uses, housing, and services. The requested neighborhood center location is adjacent to existing neighborhood center policy, and the number of rooftops that surround the center, including the single-family Windhaven Shores subdivision to the north and the Hamilton Run townhome complex to the south of the Hobson Pike-Hamilton Church intersection, as well as the existing neighborhood evolving policy that is intended for an increase in rooftops. Applying neighborhood center to the frontage provides another opportunity for a mix of uses and services to take advantage of this location near a major intersection and adjacent to existing neighborhoods. The transition policy allows for office and residential uses, generally in a small geographic size, and serves that limited function of providing transitions in scale, intensity, and use at locations between high-intensity and low-intensity policy categories or development. So applying transition policy to the rear of both properties provides an additional level of guidance on how to sensitively transition between the center and the surrounding neighborhood. This slide shows the existing and planned transportation infrastructure in the area. The Major and Collector Street Plan classifies Hobson Pike as a 3-lane arterial boulevard, shown with the red line, and Hamilton Church Road as a 3-lane collector avenue, shown with the purple line. Both of these designations require, as part of redevelopment, new pedestrian infrastructure in the form of sidewalks that will enhance connectivity in the area. There are some existing sidewalks in the larger area, and you'll see the yellow line on Hobson Pike designating an existing bikeway for experienced cyclists. Overall, the area generally lacks transportation options other than driving, so adding sidewalks and bikeways in these areas will encourage additional pedestrian and cycling activity. Therefore, the existing street network is adequate to support intensity and density envisioned by neighborhood center for this location, especially with future build out of new infrastructure. And finally, looking at the relationship to surrounding policies. As you know, the neighborhood center is applied to the parcels directly to the south and west. Extending neighborhood center policy to the frontage of the properties allows the opportunity for additional services for the neighborhood and for a continuous area of neighborhood center at this intersection by including the adjacent parcel. And the transition area can aid in minimizing any potential land use conflicts between the center and the adjacent residential neighborhood while providing opportunities for office and residential institutional uses. We commonly use boundaries to define transition areas, which may include human-made features like major utility easements, the TVA towers and lines that run along the rear of both properties, also aids in this in the creation of an appropriate transition from the broader neighborhood center. Staff recommends approval of neighborhood center for the front 350 feet and transition policy for the rear of both parcels. Abby will now present the rezoning.
Thank you. Go ahead, Abby.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Great. I'm Abby Rickoff, and I am presenting the associated case, item 23B. This is a request to rezone from RS10 Single Family to OL Office Limited Zoning for a property on the east side of Hobson Pike. Staff recommendation is to approve if the associated plan amendment is approved and to disapprove if the associated plan amendment is not approved. The 4-acre site is located on the east side of Hobson Pike, north of Hamilton Church Road. Properties to the north include single-family residential, a mixture of vacant and also institutional uses, and then to the south, we have a mixture of single-family, multifamily, some non-residential uses, and vacant properties. Across the street on the west side of Hobson Pike is mostly larger vacant parcels. The requested OL zoning is consistent with the T3 Neighborhood Center policy, which is proposed at the front of the site, to encourage development that is intended to serve surrounding residential neighborhoods. The site is located, as Anna explained, along an arterial boulevard, Hobson Pike, and then it's also in proximity to Hamilton Church, which is a collector avenue on the MCSP. Additionally, the site is located across the street from and just north of properties in the T3 Neighborhood Center policy. The OL zoning would permit office and non-residential uses consistent with the T3 Neighborhood Center policy area proposed along the corridor. The requested zoning would also provide a transition between the non-residential uses to the south along Hamilton Church and then to the residential uses to the north, consistent with the proposed transition policy that's proposed at the back of the site. Staff would not be supportive of the OL zoning under the existing T3 neighborhood evolving policy, as the evolving policy is intended for residential uses only. Therefore, staff recommendation is to approve if the associated plan amendment is approved and disapprove if the associated plan amendment is not approved.
Thank you. And so now we will open the item for public hearing. We're going to consider these items together when you speak. But we will vote on these as two separate items. So is the applicant, we'll open this item for public hearing. Is the applicant in the room? Come on up. Welcome. And I'm not sure if you've been here before, but you get 10 minutes, and then you can save 2 of the 10 minutes for your rebuttal. Okay? So welcome. And if you would just state your name and address for the record when you speak.
Sure.
Go ahead. And the timer's right here.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. Good evening. Thank you. My name is Sarah Kavanaugh. I'm representing Resurrected Church. I have my colleagues here. This is Pastor Samuel Povey, the pastor of Resurrected Church, our architect, Tim Lamb, and our representative from CEC Inc., Sam Searcy. So thank you, commissioners, for the opportunity to share more information about our project. And many thanks to Abby and Anna for their support thus far. We wanted to, I think we have a couple of slides, if you want to, just a couple to kind of give you a little bit more context on this. It's one thing to kind of see the drawings or the renderings from the sky. It's one to see how we envision what Resurrected Church is going to look like.
Yeah, sounds good. We'll pull it up.
Okay.
Give us a minute. We'll note that you can go over your time too a little bit.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. We'll probably have to start your time over. It's okay. It's okay, Elise.
That's right. I talk really fast, so I can always get through it, but we'll see.
We're fair around here for the most part.
Appreciate that.
I think.
there we go.
There we go. You got to be patient with us our first time.
No
up, so-
worries.
and we'll just tell her to when you're ready to go to the next slide. So we'll start, Lisa, if you'll start the time over, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Thank you. There you go.
Yeah, obviously this is the introduction slide, just kind of gives you kind of a physical rendering of the front of the building, but I'll have you go to the next slide. This is just a description of the project of what we had been sharing throughout our community meetings. This is a new building for our Resurrected Church. It's currently a church located in Nashville on Lebanon Pike. So this is a new building for the church community. It will be located on Hobson Pike near Windcrest Trail in Nashville. It provides a space for public gathering, such as community and government meetings, celebrations, and more, a place of worship, and then office space and childcare. A couple of examples here we wanted to really highlight here was the first one being a multi-purpose room for community use, youth events and programs, and you'll hear a bit about how we engage the community in part of that process. Secondly, a church auditorium, obviously the primary use of this, with up to 300 seats. And then we have a second floor office space that will be leasable. We have a couple of prospective tenants that have home health care agencies where it would be their administrative staff only. It wouldn't be the medical staff, it'd be administrative staff that would use this space. And then lastly, the licensed child care center. The space that we have dedicated here is for up to about 90 children for infant to pre-K. And so you can go to the next slide. Okay, so I think Anna covered a bit on our community involvement. We did kick things off initially with the District 33 Council office with Council Lady Antoinette Lee. Those meetings were led by her. And we had some changes come up, so we presented again in February, which then we started our application process and led us to Metro. We had the Metro-led meeting, and from that, several questions kind of came up on our project, primarily related to the office use space. And so we started having several ad hoc meetings with community representatives within District 33, Cane Ridge Community Club as well, and they've also kind of formed another group called Friends of District 33. So you see those listed here as well more recently. Throughout that, several conversations kind of led to some of their primary concerns, and we want an opportunity to make sure that we heard what the community's concerns were and making sure that we address those specifically. And a couple of examples that we have here, speaking to the use of a community room. Out of that came a policy. You know, they helped us draft a policy that was going to enable people in the community to use that space, because from what we understood, there really isn't a great space for even government meetings, you know, potentially. So we wanted to enable that and provide some guidelines about the use of that space. Secondly, safety and security standards. You know, we'll have technology, laptops, monitors, all kinds of things that come with the church. So they wanted to help provide some guidance on that. And so we're working with a church security consultant on creating some guidelines around the security of our space. And additionally, some safety standards as well related to cameras and security and that sort of thing. Thirdly, metro infrastructure and landscaping standards. There were several opportunities that they felt that we could look at exceeding minimum standards. And so we've gotten some feedback, and we'll be asking throughout our design process on our landscaping, our building design, and getting feedback from the community throughout that. We're designating opportunities for either community meetings, email, and different ways that we can connect with the community to get their feedback as we go through that process. And then lastly, traffic mitigation concerns. We know that there are some things that are going to be out of our control. Metro will make some decisions, but if Metro makes a recommendation for us to conduct traffic studies for our Sunday services, for our daycare, for our office space, we will do so. So those are a couple of things that came up. Other issues related to land use for our office space, we are addressing those through restrictive covenants. We have retained an attorney, and we've already provided our first draft of restrictive covenants to the community members for feedback. And then lastly, you will find 2 letters of recommendation from community members that you received tonight, hard copies of those this evening, and also a support letter from Council Lady Lee. Okay? And just the next slide is just information, background about the church if you'd like to learn more on your own time, because we have 5 minutes. And then our project team, as you have seen here, all of us have been very engaged in connecting with the community and getting feedback, having the support of our engineering architect, and then obviously, the leader of the church has been really important. So that's what we have to share. I will open it up to my team if they have any additional items that they would like to add.
Yeah, anyone else speak? Okay, well, we can reserve 2 minutes want to make sure you guys are okay. And then we'll reserve 2 minutes for rebuttal after you hear the comments. Anything from the ministry?
Do you have any?
Oh, you got to turn the microphone on.
We as a church, as a resurrected, our main purpose is to focus on the youth. So we believe that coming to that neighborhood will be a good thing, a great resource for the neighborhood, because we have youth services and we deal with the youth, and we have also engaged with the community, and we believe that we come in there, the community will benefit from it.
Thank you. So we'll reserve 2 minutes for rebuttal. Thank you. We'll let y'all, now, if you'll wipe down the microphone in your table, I apologize. We're trying to be good stewards of public health. Takes a little bit. All right, so that brings us to the public comment, and we'll start with supporters first. Public comment period, everyone gets 2 minutes. Please state your name and address and why you support the project. And come up, sit down. We have lost, to be honest, we have lost our podium. We're searching for it, but it's a COVID loss, unfortunately. So, all right. And thank you. Welcome. And then you'll have to turn the microphone on. Thank you, ma'am. Welcome. And you'll have to talk into the microphone.
Thank you. First, thank you for taking this time. My name is Patricia Pauber. I am a member of Resurrected Life Church, and this church has been a great impact on my life. So allowing us to go into this community, we will be able to, like our pastor said, make that same impact on the youth, the young women, the young men. Also providing a daycare center for single parents like myself who want to better their own lives. I think not just being a church with 4 walls, but also allowing us the opportunity to engage with the community and usher them into just his wonderful presence. And that's it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Anyone else? Come on up after we sanitize. Perfect. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. My name is Deborah, and I am a nurse, a community resource nurse for majority of the people with disabilities. And most of the people that we support and serve are in the Antioch area where the church is rezoning. And we are also commissioning and trying to help and find an office space that will be closer to the members and the people we support with disabilities, and provide also resources for them, because majority of them are trying to integrate and get employment, and we will be working with Voc Rehab to hire individuals that are disabled, that will find meaningful ways and those opportunities for them to explore what the community also holds. So I think this will be a good resource for the community, and mostly, especially, the individuals that we support with disability.
Thank you. And just for the record, your address, please. Ma'am, if you'll state your address.
My address?
Yeah, for the record, yes.
For the record, my address for the business?
Yes.
2201 Murfreesboro Pike.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Sorry for the inconvenience of the sanitation. All right. Come on up, sir. And welcome.
Hello, my name is Kenneth Odinga. I'm one of the residents just next to the location that they are going to, build the church. And I feel like, I've been listening to, the discussion that, when they were presenting their cases about this church. And I felt like, it would be a good opportunity for our kids to get involved in the place whereby, a lot of things are going on in this country. And if we can, teach our kids the right things, that would be great. And I will really support the idea of bringing daycares and other things in that place. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Oh, if you could, yep. I am so sorry.
Okay.
And if, sir, if you could tell us your address too, that would be good.
My address is 2709 Windcrest Trail, Antioch, Tennessee, 3713.
Thank you. All right, anyone else? Come on up.
My name is Ehi Odo. I am a member of Resurrected Church, and I also work as a program coordinator, work with people with intellectual and mental disability. And some of them goes to Resurrected Church, and they like it because they can mix up with every other person without feeling different, And they also ply the road all the time, going to Majolette's mall to shop, to a window shop and shop around. And it's so hard to get a place where you can put them together that would be like a cheaper rate where they can come together and socialize, Sometimes we want to do that, but getting a hall is very, very expensive. But with the church, they are making it more affordable, for everyone and those in the community. So since we have offices and houses close to that area, to be a very good opportunity for us to have an affordable hall to use, to put them together and socialize with them. So with that, I think I approve that.
And if you'll state your home address would be great too.
Okay, 3053 Bromley Way in Antioch, Tennessee, and my work address is 2131 Murfreesboro Road.
Thank you, appreciate it. Come on up. Oh, yep. Welcome.
Yeah, good evening all. Thank you. My name is Daniel, Pastor Daniel Idigba. So the Resurrected Church, basically my friend. I have a church of mine, run a church of mine, and been involved in the prison ministry for about 6 years. Santa Fe, Tony Correctional Prisons. I have been involved there for the past 6 years, speaking with the youth over there. And I know what it is, bringing the youth together, especially this generation, And in my church, too, I have a special program for the youths every Saturday where they come together, and we kind of teach them, try to redirect them to do positive things in life and so on. So I want to say I support the idea of this church being in this location where we can basically work together, because my church is located in Laverne, Tennessee, which is not too far from the very spot. I want to say I basically support the idea, and I want to the rezoning, whatever they need to do to put it, help that place stand, I want to recommend that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And then
my address is 204 Shorthorn Way, Smyrna, Tennessee.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. We hope we have enough wipes. Okay. Go ahead. Welcome. State your name and address if that.
Hello,
that'd be easy.
my name is Nana Harris. I lived on 5551 Craftwood Drive, Antioch, Tennessee, 37013. I live in the neighborhood. I've been a member of this church where we go so far. I'm a mother of 5 boys. The neighborhood has been rated as highly crime area and all that. But going to this church, raising 5 boys, knowing how, I'm an emergency room nurse too. Boys associated with the neighborhood, crimes associated with the neighborhood. I think it's a good idea if we have this church to kind of help the youth, like in so many ways. At least they will get busy with something other than doing other stuff, robbing people, picking cars, doing all this stuff. So if we have a way of getting them involved in church duties or helping the single mothers get daycares to help their kids out or giving them good line or way of training them in a godly way, like, because I've raised 5 boys in this church, and so far, so good. I have a 20-year-old, a 17-year-old, and a 14-year-old, and I'll say it's benefited me a whole lot. So I think it's a good idea if we are able to get this church in this neighborhood and help other people going through this way. So I'm in support of it as a neighbor, and I'm in support of it as a member of the church, whichever way. And we will really appreciate it if it's approved.
Thank you. And just
Thank you.
wipe down for us. Yep.
Oh, my max is on too. So I hardly turned on it.
Welcome, and please state your name and address. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Good evening, everybody.
And you have to kind of talk into the microphone. It's kind of hard. There we go.
My name is Sherry King. My address is 3404 Countryway Road, Antioch, and I live very close to where the site will be. I will be very happy and honored if the honorable commissioners, you can allow the church to stay in that site. It's going to impact the community and our youth. Every day we pray for our youth, for what is going out there, for God to change their mind. I think it's a great opportunity for this church to come to the community, for our boys, for the teenagers, even all the adults, so the church can be impact to them. So I'll be so happy if our request can be granted by you, commissioners. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hello, welcome.
Thank you. Greetings. My name is Nolene Mukiba. I am a member of the Resurrected Church. I am the youth leader. I basically grew up at Resurrected Church, and I have to say that it is family. It's a great place to be. A church is supposed to be that place where everybody goes and become one, and that has been our vision. And I am basically makeup of Resurrected as a whole. Resurrected is a family. We are a multicultural community church, so you can find people from different countries, even in Africa itself. For example, I come from the Congo. You find people from all over the world. And as a youth leader, young adults leader, I would say we've had a program where in December we do a lot of things for the Nashville Rescue Mission. I myself have been involved with the Nashville Rescue Mission since 2010 when I graduated high school. It's been a passion of mine, and Pastor Poby trusted me with that leadership. With that, we have been giving gifts to the homeless at the Nashville Rescue Mission for the past, I would say, 6 years, and that is nothing less than 300 people. We prepare a meal for them. We go out there. We either take the church bus, or I would go and ask somebody that I know who has a van. And we always have volunteers, so the whole church donates, whether it is money, whether it is clothes and things like that. And I think with everything going on around Nashville and around the world, it's such a positive and a great things to have here in Nashville. So with the church being small as it is and where we're located, we have made small impact, and I believe this place will allow us to touch more people, especially starting with the youth, to having that positive place where they can go and hear not only the word of God, but it's good to, because you basically you are what you hear and what you see. So we're trying to impact the community with positive thinking, having that place where they can have a good place, a good positive place to go. So thank you for your time, and I hope you do consider it.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, sorry.
Yep, no, it's okay. We're getting used to it as well. So.
Okay. Do I wipe the mic?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, it's kind of weird.
This is kind of weird, but.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, anyone else? Come on up. Make sure we get to everybody.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kasongo Moma. I'm actually living in Smyrna. My address is 4619 Lancaster Road. Resurrected Church has been a house for me, or a family for me. So as you can see, I have to cut, working today just to make this time and stand up here to show how important this church has impacted our community. Technically, I've been married in that church, and now I'm actually one of the members of the main ministry. And the impact that I've seen this church in our youth, our young kids today, starting from, the youngest age, and understand actually the Word of God and take this Word of God to the world today with what we have here in our community, has been a huge impact. So to allow this church to grow, as the other members are saying, the size of the church today is really require this church to be expanded, and also allow other members of this city to see, what's the goodness of this church. So I really, ask for your help and to help this church to grow and also impact the community as we always do and give it back to this community. So that's why I can thank you for your time and then to take time to hear from us. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you.
Try to wipe this.
All right, anyone else? Come on up. Please state your name and your address. We appreciate
it. My name is Michael Odo. My address is 3053 Bromley Way, Antioch, Tennessee. The zip code is 37013. I'm a member of Resurrected Church. I've been there for about 7 to 8 years now, I'm sorry. And my children go there. I see so much of the impact they have for my children and the children around us. And the new place is going to have an office space, which I'm sure will really have an impact on the children in the community to have a place to work. I mean, that I'm sure will bring employment for people around. So I think if by your help, I think getting us, making it possible for it to work for us will help, will really, really help. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And come on up. Well, welcome.
Thank you. My name is Emilia Dankor.
If you could just, get close to the microphone. Try to talk a little louder.
My name is Emilia Dankor. I live in 4713 Rockland Trail. I live very close, the same neighborhood, a little bit far. And also my children go to JFK, which is right where the church is. I am so emotional, very emotional, because this church has helped me so many ways. And I'm raising a pastor through that church. I have a 10-year-old child that is really because of this pastor, focusing on this pastor. This child that I'm raising go to JFK. Everybody said this school is so bad, but I say that because of this child that I'm raising, church is coming next to the school. This is really amazing for me. The day that I hear that we get the location to my neighborhood and also to the school that I was feared to send my child to, this is a release. So if you guys consider this, I am a mother and also I'm a volunteer. I volunteered in every school that I go and the churches. I am also a neighborhood watch in my neighbor 4713 Rockland Trail and also a treasurer for my neighborhood. And so this is really amazing if we have a church. This church is really for me. So please, then my teacher said, give this church to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
I am so sorry.
That's all right. Now, just a reminder that we try to, everybody has to treat everyone professionally and no public outbursts, so we'll keep it. All right, come on up.
Hello, everybody. My name is Flora. My address is 3804 Waterfall Way. I've been a member of Resurrected for a long, long time. When I say long, long time, my first son is 23 years old. He grows up in that church. So I just want to support the church to be placed in that neighborhood because my house is behind the church. And with the mother of 4 children, and all the children grow up from that church, the church have an academy that they are training children from the day one. You know, to the amazing part of it, all the children that grow up in this ministry, they are all well-to-do. They are very responsible because of the way the church have impacted them, support them, even contribute to their life. So I would be really, really in support to have the church in that place. And also, being, I work for DIDD, disability, and from the church having, with the church having an office space, and it's going to be an advantage to us, we that are having, renting an office space somewhere else. So we rent from the church. It's going to be affordable for all the members according to the plan that the pastor have for all the members. And he's a pastor that supports all the members. When you attend the church, it makes your future bright. And he's very supportive financially and everything. He lives for the members. So I will be an agreement for the community, or for the commissioners to support the church to have that space, the office space, and the church place to support all the youth. Amen.
Thank you. I don't think we've ever gotten an amen, but that's good. All right. So, all right. Next. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. My name is Onyinye Renini, and I live at 5161 Rice Road in Antioch. I live just around the community where the proposed church is supposed to be, and I want to say that I think it would be a wonderful idea if the church is allowed to be developed in this area. I live in the community. I think it would be nice to have a place where they are built on principles that will help the young people, even the adults, every one of us. I have little children, and I know that when this, in the community, it will really help, because when it grows up, when it's built, the child care facility will really help a lot of people. I know what it's like to look for child care, especially a place where you know that they will truly care for your children and bring them up with the kind of principles that you would like. So I think this is going to be a wonderful idea, and I hope and pray that you approve it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone else wishing to speak in support? All right, now we're ready to take the folks that are in opposition. If you would come on up and please state your name and address, and thank you for coming.
My name is Larry Price. I live at 100 Cambridge Close, 37013. I've resided in this zip code since 1984. Today I speak in opposition to the proposed amendment to the Antioch-Priest Lake Community Plan. Suburban neighborhood centers are characterized by pedestrian-friendly areas generally located at intersections of suburban streets. T3 NC areas are served with well-connected street networks, sidewalks, and mass transit leading to surrounding neighborhoods and open space. Your documents from staff primarily show maps of the area. What you really need are good photos. There are extremely few sidewalks with little or no connectivity. There is no mass transit and no plans for mass transit. The parcels in question are on Tennessee Highway 171, commonly referred to as Hobson Pike. This morning I looked, and the speed limit sign posted directly in front of these two parcels is 50 miles an hour. 50 miles an hour. Does that sound like a suburban street? Does it sound bicycle or pedestrian friendly? I personally attended community meetings to develop the Antioch-Priest Lake Plan. I also sat on a team for Nashville Next that sorted through land use, transportation, and infrastructure. I hope that my many citizen hours donated to support metro planning processes were not in vain. I urge you to honor the spirit of the Antioch-Priest Lake Plan and not approve this amendment. Thank you for your service to all of Davidson County. We welcome you out in the Southeast anytime.
Thank you. Next. Oh, you got to wipe. I'm sorry. Always forget.
Oh, it's just,
Thank you. Welcome.
Hey, everybody. As a reminder, this is not for or against, it's a comment. We just don't have that option to choose that. My name is Twana Chick, 5967 Cane Ridge Road. Thank you for your service. I'm here on behalf of Cane Ridge community. Cane Ridge is wholly a part of Antioch. Antioch residents seek to improve the standing of our community. To this end, in spite of COVID, we have had many continued meetings with developers in order to bring about better neighborhoods and neighbors to Antioch. Regarding these two items before you tonight, Pastor Pobey and his representatives have and are on board with working with Antioch residents to create a safer and better development that's a better fit and better serves our community. We requested several specific items in writing so that when this tenant moves on, and we think they will be so successful they will, our community is still protected. That's really important to us. Some applicants are receiving mixed messages about whether it's permissible or encouraged to actively work with the community to create better neighborhoods. We must all work together if we wish to make Nashville a great place to live 100 years from now. Tonight, we still look forward to continuing to work with this applicant towards an outstanding product with clear written restrictions for the good of everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being fastidious.
Mr. Stern. Welcome.
I'm commenting for an organization, Cane Ridge Community Trust.
Give him 5 minutes.
And first, before we get started, we are not against the church. The
John.
church has the right to be at this location
Mr.
today.
Stern, you know that you have to address the chair.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. We have been working with the church now for what I believe is 2 or 3 months. Our efforts started back in November when the council lady had meetings. And back then we were told that no rezoning was going to be required for their relocation, which it isn't. The Planning Commission staff held a virtual community meeting on March 6th. At the middle point of that meeting, they announced that there were 12 people on that call. Most people don't understand the details of all these letters, T3NE, OS, T3NC. It's too complex, it's too technical. So afterwards, the Friends of District 33, an organization that was formed to pick up the slack of our council member in District 33, decided to host our own community event, and we did so, virtual of course, and we had 62 participants at our meeting. The Friends of the Church were there presenting, and they did a wonderful job. And there is no contention. The church would be a great addition to this community. The problem is that we're being asked to change from residential to commercial this particular piece of property, and to give the abutting property the opportunity to go commercial, office limited. What we've tried to do is to engage this group in open, significant, and meaningful discussions, identify and address the issues that have arisen, work towards agreements, and then document in legal form, both for Metro government to enforce, as well as on the civil side with restrictive covenants. And we were close. We defined the specific, and the church agreed. The church wanted to allow on this property, 1, religious institution. That's a given. They've got that right already. Daycare center. Again, they have the ability to go to the BZA and seek authority to operate a daycare. But the third one was general office. They wanted to be able to put office space in this property and sell it out for interested consumers. You know, we're in the middle of a pandemic. We're going, why would you build office space? But we didn't argue with them about that. So we also wanted to develop site-specific standards to address the concerns of the community using a regulatory SP, and then to create restrictive covenants by and between 2 entities that would be enforceable and aligned with what the church and the community have discussed. On Monday, we learned, this last Monday, when your agenda came out, we learned that this matter was to be heard today. We went to the church and asked what happened, because our agreement was we were going to continue to work and document these matters before it came before this body. They responded that they had decided to go for a straight OL zoning change despite multiple community concerns. And unfortunately, we were very disappointed. We are still open, though, to good faith efforts to allow them not only to have their wonderful church, but to have a component, a commercial component within it to help support its operation. At this time, however, it's our opinion that the community does not desire their community plan to change in this way. If this fails, or if you choose to defer this, we would be happy to go back to the table with these folks and resolve the situation. We know it's possible because we've already done the heavy lifting.
Thank you, Mr. Stern. Come on up. Welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Therese Brumfield Gooch, and I live at 1512 Grapeleaf Way in Antioch, right around the corner from where the church is planning to build. And I'm opposed to the amendment of the Antioch Priest Lake community plan change. I am not opposed to the church. I love everything I heard, and I support that in the community. But it's the change from the amendment plan and moving it more from the residential to the commercial that the community has a challenge with. I am in an organization called the Friends of District 33, and we represent about 575 neighbors, about 45 HOA associations in the Southeast Nashville. And we have had an opportunity to discuss these things. And the community is just very much concerned about what happens after maybe the Resurrected Church has to grow to another location because they are so successful. What does that mean around that community and the properties that may also abut that property? And now we have that commercial aspect in our suburban community. So it is because of that that we are opposed to it. More so, we are completely open to continue to work with the church to be on the same page with them because we do want them in the community, but it is the nature of the change in the Antioch Amendment Plan that we oppose. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Thank you for wiping that down, too. And anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? We will make sure I get everybody. All right, seeing none, rebuttal, 2 minutes from the applicant. Oh, so now that we finished, yep, come on up. And the timer's right there, 2 minutes.
Okay, I'll try to be.
All right.
I'm Sam Searcy, civil engineer with CEC 117 Seaboard Lane, Franklin, Tennessee. I just wanted to mention a couple of things. This project was on the consent agenda last month. We decided to defer in order to have more meetings with the Friends of District 33. The community plan amendment, the specific community plan amendment and zoning change was recommended by Metro Planning in order to provide continuity in the area. Sorry, going through this fast. During one of the community meetings with the Friends of District 33, a vote was conducted to gauge the support of the community and to gauge support of the community for both the community plan amendment and the rezoning, and both of those votes did show majority of attendees in support. The church, I know you've heard about the deeds of restricted covenants, but the church has hired an attorney to compose a list of these restricted covenants that will specifically state uses that cannot be used within the office space. And then also the church has agreed to collaborate with the Friends of District 33 during the design process, meaning we'll share plans, get comments from them in order to get a design that everyone can agree on. So, thank you.
Thank you. And usually we do the council member next, but the council member wrote a letter lately, and the commissioners have that letter in front of you in support. And so, seeing no one else wishing to speak, I declare the public hearing closed. And so we're on to discussion. And Commissioner Blackshear, you want to go first?
Sure, yeah. Well, first, I'd like to thank everyone for speaking. I know it's kind of weird for everyone to be sitting so close, and obviously it's been a long item, so I'm glad that everyone spoke and helped the commission, in addition to the staff's analysis, give us color into what the item is. Looking at the map, so we see where the neighborhood evolving policy area is and where the neighborhood center area is. It does not seem to me to be too big of a change to extend the neighborhood center to those two more parcels, especially if they're going to be along Hobson Pike, which one of the neighbors said is an area where you have a speed limit of 50 miles per hour. I mean, to me, it seems like an appropriate extension of the policy area, and I do like the staff's, I think it was the staff's idea to add that transition in the back so that you're not going from neighborhood center, continuing the neighborhood center policy and immediately going to the neighborhood evolving policy. And one of the things that the neighbors who are against the item indicated was their desire for a regulatory SP. And I don't know if staff had considered that at all. I know it's not the favored tool all the time. If planning's view is that the uses by right in the zoning or the policy area are appropriate, but was there any thought to a regulatory SP?
Hi, so the application was made for the plan amendment and for the zone change as presented. Staff found that this was an appropriate location for the application that was filed. And so I know that there had been some discussion with the community about a regulatory SP, but in this case, given the uses that were permitted in the surrounding land use policies, staff reviewed the application as filed and found it to be appropriate.
Thank you for that. Well, I mean, sounds like the primary, if not the sole concern for the neighbors who are in opposition is the ability of someone else after the church to come in and use the property in a way that's not desirable. It also sounds like, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but I heard you say there's going to be a discussion about restrictive covenants and a meeting with the Friends of District 33 or whoever else to talk about that. That's obviously won't be the province of Metro to enforce. Is that right, our council? That we would not be involved in the restrictive covenant agreement.
That's correct.
So, I mean, it sounds like that conversation is going to happen, so maybe your concerns are going to be alleviated. Looking at the map, hearing what both sides have had to say, to me does not seem to be a problematic change to extend that neighborhood center policy, and perhaps those in opposition, your concerns would be alleviated with the restrictive covenant agreement that the applicant has said is forthcoming. So I would be leaning in favor of approval of both the item A and item B, but I'm interested to hear what other commissioners have to say.
Council Lady.
Thank you. I think Commissioner Blackshear hit on a lot of my thoughts, is especially if the church is willing to do restrictive covenants, that's going to be a lot stronger and enforceable than a regulatory SP, I think, because they obviously last longer, where an SP could come back before us and uses can change a lot easier, I would think, than what the church is willing to do and is making moves that way. I think that this seems appropriate here. If we were looking at subdividing this into single-family lots, we'd have a lot more concerns about Hobson Pike and the traffic and conversations around that. And I think that this is an appropriate expansion of the policy here, and especially because what they are building would limit whatever goes in here next. I did have a question about the transition and the transition policy and the TVA easement back there. I guess, could you tell me a little bit more? Is the transition policy is being put into place to have residential uses back there at some point? Is that the intent here?
So transition policy allows residential and office uses. So it meets both
the office requirement from the church. Staff added it based on some concerns we heard about the neighborhood center and wanting to appropriately ensure that the development transitions to those residential neighborhoods off those main corridors.
Which I think that's what the policy is intended to do, and it sets it up nicely where you have the transition policy to buffer, and then also having that TVA, the power lines go through there, that's a natural buffer as well. And so I think that this is an appropriate location and policy changes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to thank you, community member, taking your time and speak, especially church member, share your love and passion to the community. I really appreciate it. Speaking of policy, I would like to thank staff because to me, just changing one parcel and then skipping over and leaving one parcel in totally different policy does not make sense. Because of this location, the corner of Hamilton Church and Hobson Pike is already neighborhood center. So just looking at holistically, even though the next adjacent property is not subject to the zone change or any future proposal, holistic way, I think it makes sense. And also having a neighborhood center closer to the main street and then having transition policy for the future, lesser residential development or less intense development, I think policy-wise really makes sense. So I really appreciate that, take a look at holistically. And as far as neighborhood concern, I have watched one of the community meeting, a virtual meeting, and I think what the community wanted was like a community benefit, especially that area do not have any community gathering space, but it is outside of our scope. So I'm hoping community and church member continue your conversation, and then you can come up with restrictive covenant or community benefit agreement that will be outside of zone change. But if a community work together, you can come up with those creative mixed use and a better community agreement. So I'm hoping other than zone change, you can still work as a one community. And I think it's possible. So for having said that, this location and policy makes sense. The next property, although it will change neighborhood center to transition because base zoning is still residential. So anybody want to change to other usage will have to come up with zone change. So that time, because policy and base zoning is in conflict, and the community will have more time to give us input. So for that, I think this change, I am in support.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Henley?
Well, first, again, I would like to, I really enjoy when there's so much physical presence now that we can meet again in person to show whether it be opposition or support, but also the amount of community engagement that's already gone into the process. I think that's extremely reflective about the level of engagement of the community. One of the comments that was stated that, the technicality of how things are presented is something that oftentimes is an issue, but I think it's worth stating that, this church and these uses, the ones that are opposed by the community, will be able to happen immediately across the street as well as at the corner. I believe that's a correct statement. And so to me, it does seem like an appropriate expansion of the neighborhood center. I think that the ability to look at it and dissect it to where a portion of it is transitioning, I think is a great way to respond immediately and even before approval to the community's concerns. One thing that I wanted to ask, the church or the group that is representing the church does not control both parcels. Is that correct? They control the parcel that was in red and not within the dash line?
That's correct, yes.
So I've having sat in this seat before, I understand that, when you go before planning and you make an application, the planning department does what they see is best interest for the community. And a lot of times that creates some challenges because they step outside of what you control and they put you in the direct spotlight of something that you may not even intend to take part in. But with that being said, I think a lot of the things we've highlighted, identify why this corridor is appropriate. I will also say that some of the comments about the speed limit and different things like that, I think that, again, is conversation with the council member. I hate hearing that the community felt like the council member wasn't adaptly plugged into the process, but I think there's things that can be solved with the council member and continued effort with the church as the property owner. And again, as my fellow commissioner just stated, if there's opposition to what potentially may come, I don't think we should punish those who have gone beyond what some would present in terms of their vision, and they're working to put restrictive covenants in place.
Thank you. Commissioner Tibbs?
My fellow commissioners have hit all of the points that I was going to make, except for I thought it was a great presentation the church did. It was well thought through, and I did appreciate that. And the final one, the one that Ed just brought up about the speed limit, I definitely think that's something that should be brought up with the commissioner and Public Works. But otherwise, it's right. I agree with it. It's right with policy. I think it's appropriate for this community, and I'd like to make a motion to approve A. I guess.
So we do.
Right?
Yes, Commissioner Tibbs.
Okay.
So the motion would be to approve 23A. Is that your motion?
Yes, motion is 23A.
That's a proper motion. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Johnson. Any other discussion on 23A? I want to make sure. Seeing no discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Now,
and I'd also like to make a motion to approve 23B.
It's a proper motion. Is there a second? Commissioner Johnson seconds it. Any discussion?
I just would like to take the privilege to compliment the team again. I think the combined union of what they put together from a programmatic usage, I know that it is difficult now for totally commercialized spaces to be viable in our city. And so to find a way to combine all those uses in the area, to find a location that works for you all, I commend you for doing so. I know that's not easy. And again, you had to jump through a couple of extra hurdles to get before us today, so I just commend you with sticking that out.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other discussion? So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on? And the motion is to approve 23B. Seeing no other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and 23B is adopted. So here's our situation. A lot of folks have to leave. I know that I have to use the restroom. I think maybe we've been here about 2.5 hours. So I asked the director, she's like, yes. So if it's okay with the commissioners, if we take just a quick 10-minute break and then we'll be back and then we'll reconvene. Thank you. On item 24, Logan.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Logan Elliott with the Planning Department. I'll be presenting item 24 tonight. The request is to rezone property from RS 7.5 to RM 20A NS, and the A tag on here indicates alternative zoning standards would apply, and the NS tag on indicates that short-term rentals would not be permitted. Staff's recommendation is to approve the application. The approximately half-acre site is comprised of 2 parcels and is located at the southeast corner of the intersection of Timmons Street and Meade Avenue near Nolensville Pike. The site has an east-west alley that abuts it and also a north-south alley that abuts it and runs parallel with Nolensville Pike. Timmons Street and Meade Avenue are both local streets, and Nolensville Pike is classified as an arterial boulevard in the Major and Collector Street Plan. The subject site contains a single-family residence currently and is surrounded by other single-family and 2-family residential uses. And on the Nolensville Pike, there are commercial and other non-residential land uses. The site is within the urban neighborhood evolving policy and is intended to create and enhance urban residential neighborhoods that provide more housing choices, improve pedestrian, bicycle, and vehicular connectivity, and moderate to high density development patterns with shallow setbacks and minimal spacing between buildings. The policy states that successful infill and redevelopment in existing neighborhoods needs to take into account considerations such as timing and elements of the existing developed characters such as street network and block structure and proximity to centers and corridors. Looking at the site to the east is urban mixed-use corridor policy, and more interior to the neighborhood is neighborhood maintenance policy. The proposed zoning district is consistent with the urban neighborhood evolving policy, given the proximity of the site to a major corridor, the alley network that serves this site, and the fact that this site encompasses the entire block. The area has a mixture of single-family and two-family uses, and other zoning districts are nearby that permit medium-density residential developments. The intensity of this proposed zoning district of RM 20A and S is consistent with the neighborhood evolving policy and is appropriate for this area. Thank you. That completes my presentation. I'm here to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Logan. So we'll open this item for public hearing. And on item 24, we are now ready for the applicant. Is the applicant here? Come on up. State your name and address, and you have 10 minutes, and you can save 2 of the 10 minutes for rebuttal. Welcome. And you'll have to push the microphone and then remember to clean it off after you're finished.
Hello, Commissioners. Thank you for having us. I'm Buck Snyder of 2610 Westwood Drive. I'm also owner of Central Builders. We're requesting this application, I guess, for a few reasons. The first being we plan to do a townhome project here and have received planning support for the increased zoning. We have discussed with the council member and a few of the neighbors about this, and it seems consistent with the increased density policy through the Nolensville Road corridor, and hope you'll consider that when you're reviewing tonight.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Stephen Emery. I also work with Central Builders, and I live at 400 Centerview Drive in Brentwood, Tennessee. Actually going to be moving to a project we have on Antioch Pike in the same council district, 239 Antioch Pike, for, I guess, showing support of the community that I'll be living in here soon. So I guess a couple things just to add to what Buck already mentioned is I didn't include the map, but if you were looking at this corridor and other parcels that have the same density, Timmins is the first street that you're going to hit along Nolensville Pike, and currently it's zoned RS 7.5, but this area looks like it was pretty much destined to be a 20 unit per acre density. If you go one street south on Morton, the same shaped parcel immediately off of Nolensville Pike between the residential neighborhood and the commercial is zoned OR 20. Obviously, that was enacted with a previous, I guess, land use policy or plan for Nashville, but the same sort of density, and it's currently being developed and permitting for townhomes. And then if you go another street to the south, you're going to have Radnor Street, which also has another parcel, same shape, same side of the street, and it's zoned OR 20. Another mixture of housing options in the community. It's actually a couple of attached duplexes. So all that to say, with this parcel, with our rezoning, we're essentially looking for some consistency to the neighborhood and the community. And in our conversations with neighbors, everyone seems to be mostly on board with seeing development because the commercial uses directly abutting this parcel are all auto related. The major concern that anybody has brought up has been the fact that all of the auto uses continue to park in the street. And so that's something that I've made sure to engage with the neighbors, engage with the councilwoman, and also I've had a conversation with Public Works to talk about how we can address that concern, which is outside of what we're trying to do, but obviously is something that we would like to see done as well, which is kind of clean up the street off of Nolensville Pike, the alleys, to make sure that the commercial uses are parking on their parcel. And then when we go ahead with our development, that it doesn't add to any sort of a traffic issue, which it wouldn't. So all that to say, we appreciate your consideration for our rezoning.
Thank you, and we'll save 2 minutes for your rebuttal. So now we're ready for the public comment period now, which is, and we'll start with the supporters. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak in support of the project? Anyone wishing to speak in support? Okay. Seeing none, anyone wishing to speak in opposition? No one wishing to speak in opposition? All right. Then I'm assuming you don't want a rebuttal since no one's here. The council member is not here, and so we'll declare the public, seeing no one else wishing to speak, I declare the public hearing closed. And Commissioner Johnson, you want to go first?
Thank you, Chair. I know there was some concern and opposition on that items, but looking at a larger area proximity to Nolensville Pike and also alley access, I think this zone change would make sense. I think this item was previously on consent a couple of weeks or a couple of months ago. So that time I asked staff why it's is it RM20 and why not RM15? But a difference is RM20 and RM15 is 2 units. So after hearing from the staff with proximity and alley access, only 2 unit difference, I think difference is the size of the unit and not the building itself. So for that, I think this particular location with this zone change makes sense. So I'm in support.
Commissioner Henley?
Thank you, Chair. Well, I have some unique degrees of separation here. I actually own property in the neighborhood. I've been emailing and pinging Logan quite a bit over the past couple of weeks and months, and I've also had some conversations with the community as well as the council member. Echoing everything that the applicants presented, the concerns are typically around the challenges with parking, but very little opposition to development. There's been a great amount of either home renovation or densification. I think the community has been in support of, not knowing exactly the layout of what will go here, but again, as my fellow commissioner said, having 2 alleys border the collector properties, I think there'll be something creative that can be done here. And then I would just like to also say, the thing I noticed here was the no short-term rentals. So that's been the big buzz, and Councilmember Welch has made that very clear that that's not something she'll be supporting. So it seems like this applicant's already taken that advice and moved forward. So with that being said, I'm in support.
Thank you. Commissioner Tibbs?
I too support this change. I used to live in this neighborhood, and this type of development will be well, I think, received and well, and especially even the parking, any of those kind of things that you're able to address, maybe is a better way to say it, or some kind of way, influence maybe is a better word for say, I think will be well appreciated. And just because of new development, I think is really needed in this area. And like Councilman Henley, Commissioner Henley brought up, the not having the short-term rentals, I think is important too, because we need families here. So I would approve this.
Commissioner Blackshear?
I support it.
Council lady?
Can I make a motion?
Yes.
Move to approve?
That's a proper motion. And is there a second? Commissioner Henley seconds. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. And item 24 is adopted. We are now on item 25. Logan?
Yes, thank you, Chair. My name is Logan O with the Planning Department, and I'll be presenting item 25 on tonight's agenda. The request is to rezone property from the RS10 and R10 zoning district to RM4. Staff's recommendation is to approve the request. The application includes 4 parcels and comprises approximately 55.28 acres near the northeastern boundary of Davidson County and is adjacent to the satellite city of Goodlettsville. The site has frontage onto Liberty Lane and People's Court, both public local streets. Liberty Lane connects back to Gallatin Pike about half of a mile to the south by passing under Vietnam Veterans Boulevard and an associated off-ramp. The site is currently vacant and undeveloped other than with overhead electric lines and associated transmission towers that run east-west on the southern portion of the site near People's Court. Mansker Creek runs across the very northern portion of the site, and resultingly there's floodplain and floodway at the very northern tip of the site. Otherwise, the site has very limited instances of steeply sloped areas as defined in the zoning code. However, this site does have topography and roughly slopes downwards as you move interior into the north of the site. The surrounding area includes single-family residential uses and other vacant properties. The Windsor Green subdivision in Goodlettsville abuts the site to the north, and to the south of Vietnam Veterans Boulevard on Gallatin Pike is a more intense commercial district. The site is within suburban neighborhood evolving policy, and this policy intends to create and enhance suburban residential neighborhoods with more housing choices, improved pedestrian, bicycle, and vehicular connectivity, and moderate density development patterns with moderate setbacks and spacing between buildings. There is also a minimal amount of conservation policy on the site that recognizes areas with slope and floodway and floodplain buffers. In staff's analysis, we looked at the suburban neighborhood evolving policy and its intent to create and enhance suburban neighborhoods. The requested zoning permits a similar number of units as to what the existing zoning could likely realize, and the maximum development potential is likely being reduced with this request. The site's ability to create a public street network in this area is limited by a number of factors, including the pattern of the existing adjacent subdivision in the satellite city of Goodlettsville, the proximity of Vietnam Veterans Boulevard to the south, Mansker Creek running to the north and ultimately to the east of this site, and these conditions support a zoning district that will develop with private streets and drives. Also, Metro Public Works has analyzed Liberty Lane in People's Court and has determined that this street has the capacity to accommodate the potential number of units that could be realized under this request. Additionally, Public Works has conditioned that a traffic impact study be completed and submitted with any building permits following if the zoning request was approved. And this traffic impact study would identify any necessary improvements to mitigate traffic impacts from the development. With all of this in mind, staff is recommending approval of the request as the zoning district is appropriate given the land use policy, and that completes my presentation. I'm here to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Logan. We'll go ahead and open this item for public hearing, and Mr. Applicant, come on up. Welcome. Please state your name and address. Mr. Dale. Yes, there you go.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Roy Dale with Dale & Associates, 516 Heather Place. I actually want to start off with an apology to you guys. And that is, I've spoken to you so many times. I thought about this the other day. I feel like sometimes you think I'm preaching or lecturing, and I'm not doing that. I hope you don't ever think I'm doing that. I'm just trying to reinforce things that you already know, but things that maybe the public doesn't know, that people that are listening. And I'm really concerned about that because I want everybody to understand exactly what's being considered. So if you feel like I'm preaching or lecturing, please don't think that. Councilmember Young spoke on this. He gave a very strong recommendation of approval on this zone change request, so strong that he's already filed this at the council level. I think it's already passed first reading and will be going to the council on the July public hearing, I think. So I don't know if it's a mandatory referral or not, but he has already felt strong enough that he has placed this on the council agenda. One thing that he didn't mention that he probably could have mentioned, probably would have been helpful, is that in addition to this being an ever-evolving policy, it's also an opportunity zone. So this property is really set up for some type of growth. It's not sitting there, just to be sitting there. I think it has 16 houses on this one road right now. It only has one point of access, but it's not very well developed. And so I think he recognizes that. We've been actually working on this for probably about a year. We knew that there were challenges here because of the one way in and one way out. And so one of the very first things that was done was we reached out to Windsor Green, to the Homeowners Association, and said, hey guys, look, you've got 420 houses, you've got over 400 apartment units on one street. It seems to me that maybe you would want to work with us to get a second point of access. It would be good for you, it would be good for us. But they made that very clear that they didn't want to have anything to do with that. They really didn't want to have anything to do with this development at all. And so that was a challenge. That left us with a little bit of a challenge because this Liberty Lane is a street with one point of access. So we went to the fire marshal just to make sure that the fire marshal was going to be, cool with this. Although there's 900 units on one street on Windsor Green, the fire marshal looks at this in a manner that when you're developing property, if you're doing single-family subdivision, you can go up to 99 houses. 99 houses, you cannot exceed that. Well, this property is zoned RS10 and R10, and actually allows about 250 houses today. Well, you couldn't do that. So we went to the fire marshal and said, what can we do? What can we do on this property? And the fire marshal basically said, if you are one parcel of land, and you're considered multifamily, you can have detached units, attached units, that they would allow up to 199 units. And so that is really the reason why this change is being requested to go from R10 and RS10, which the R10 allows attached units, but the fire marshal doesn't look at it that way. They're looking at the individual lots. So again, if you're on one HPR, and if you're less than 199 units, they'll approve it, as long as all the buildings are sprinkled and you have one point of access. So that's basically the reason why we went this route. I know that you'll probably hear some concerns that you always hear. You always hear concerns about traffic. You always hear concerns about stormwater, environmental features, all of that. And all of those are really covered under the current zoning code that we have. There will be no impact on Windsor Green as far as traffic is concerned. There's no connection to Windsor Green. There's really has very little, if any, impact on Windsor Green. They may be concerned about stormwater. Well, we're required to hold back stormwater. We cannot have an excess amount of stormwater. We can't do that. As a matter of fact, this property is fairly large. We could probably do things within this site to improve stormwater conditions downstream. And that's something that we always do as engineers. As I mentioned, I think there are only 16 houses on Liberty Lane right now. I'll be interested to see how many people actually speak that live on Liberty Lane. Planning Commission is recommending approval of this, and they're doing it based upon the policy. Public Works is in. We called Public Works very early on also. Public Works looked at the road. They looked at what was allowed today. They basically said, hey, the road's fine today for 200 units. We don't see a problem with that. The condition was added to this request by planning because once property is zoned, you really don't know when that's going to take place. It could be 5 years from now. Conditions could change. And so as a result of that, I think it's very smart to say, hey, look, you develop this property in the future, you should probably do a traffic study. And that's one of the conditions that planning staff, I think, very eloquently did and made a part of their conditions. The fire marshal, I'll go back to that one more time. The RM zoning is something that he needs, that we need. We're going to continuously work with the fire marshal. There'll need to be some fluidity there as we're working with them on that. The intent is to do as many detached houses as we possibly can. I know that's the intent, but I don't know the exact way it's going to lay out. I just don't know. So again, the council members are very supportive of this. I think we've done the best that we can do to reach out, and I'll hold off 2 minutes. To hopefully be able to answer any questions or any concerns that you might have. And I appreciate your consideration. Thank you. I'll wipe
Thank
down.
you, sir.
If I can find the right thing.
Yep, please wipe.
They'll probably want me to really wipe down.
Well,
all right.
We'll save 2 minutes for your rebuttal. And so now we are in the public comment period for public to come up and speak. And so are there any supporters that would like to come and speak in support of the project? All right, seeing none, anyone in opposition? All right, and so just make your way up, and everyone gets 2 minutes. Please state your name and address, and we appreciate y'all coming. You'll have to push at the base of the,
Okay.
Yep, perfect.
Good evening. My name is Paulette Burrows. We own the property next to where Mr. Wrightsman and his group wants to build. We have trouble getting the fire department down there. We have trouble getting our garbage picked up on our street. My husband has had 6 strokes. We've got it one way in and one way out. If our councilman is so set on his letting them build, we don't care what they build back there, but we do not want it rezoned. And we have apartments on our street. We have more apartments fixing to be built. We have a Harley place. We have a car lot. We've got Walmart. You go under the underpass, and Mr. Wrightsman has got the whole People's Court blocked off with concrete. And I thought that was supposed to be a public street, but it's not. We own 244 and 252. This time, Christmas, my husband fell down 13 steps and had 2 brain bleeds. And the EMT asked, what are they going to do about the road? We got one way in and one way out. We were blindsided by all this. We have been told too many lies about what's going to be there and what's not. It went from 60 houses to 200 and something. We don't care what they build back there, but we do not want our property rezoned. We lived on a cul-de-sac little road, a private road. They've promised us that we can keep our dead end. They've promised us everything, and they've turned around and told different things. But I wish you would take in consideration. We can't even get out on Christmas Day for the road and the traffic and the city buses running down there.
Thank you.
It's not even supposed to be on the road. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Amelie de Beaumont-Mavie. I live at 247 Liberty Lane. Councilman Young and this gentleman who just spoke were highly misleading and inaccurate in their recommendations earlier. I wish that Councilman Young was here so we could be heard by our elected representative, because no one has come to talk to us about this. The only portion that he was correct in noting is that there is no option for creating additional entry or exit to this parcel of land. The road that we reside on, which is the only entry to the proposed development, has no sidewalk, no shoulder, and is barely wide enough for 2 SUVs to pass each other at the same time. There is no signage for speed, there is no signage for stopping or for slowing down. This is a small street where a handful of retirees and families live. There are 9 homes, and 6 of them, sir, are represented here today. More would be if they had gotten off of work. I hope that this communicates to you how opposed we are to this rezoning request. It is not a wide open road that most subdivisions have as entries. This is a small, barely 2-lane road that the city has mostly forgotten about. Earlier this year, a felled power line prevented any of the 9 homeowners from leaving their street. That was an inconvenience for 9 homes. For 200 homes, it would create a true emergency. A 200-foot transmission tower is at the very entry of this proposed development, directly following a double overpass created by north and southbound 386. It would be incredibly difficult for fire engines, ambulances, and other emergency vehicles to navigate, which will only be needed more with the addition of 200 homes and the addition of hundreds of additional cars and vehicles on such a tiny road. As the zoning stands now, there is the ability to have the units that are desired, so changing the zoning will not limit this developer. This developer has already deceptively approached our residents in order to get his will and his way passed. I urge you to not allow him to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Come on up. Just
Good
remember
evening.
to disinfect when you're finished. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Luke Maddox, and I'm a resident of Liberty Lane. My address is 236. I'm one of the properties that actually butts up against the property of interest. Earlier in the evening, you emphatically approved the Robinson Avenue tree street plan, and I should probably note that this project will see the removal of over 50 acres of 100-year-old forest and the destruction of habitat for hundreds of thousands of animals that live there. One of the applicants came to my house several weeks ago and asked us to sign a letter supporting this application. He had a lot to say about how we shouldn't panic, and even though it says multifamily on the new zoning, it's still going to look a lot like the same current neighborhood. He seemed like a nice guy, and I had no reason to believe he was lying, but he also said that there was no formal plan for the development, and therefore I had no reason to believe he was telling the truth. I told him that there was a very good chance he could get me to sign a support letter, but before I would, I wanted to see the plan, and I wanted to talk to the developers about a vegetation buffer. I gave him my contact info, was enthusiastic about hearing back, but as you might expect, I never did. I wrote 4 different emails to Councilman Young, respectfully asking him a very simple question. Would he support the Planning Commission postponing their decision until reasonable compromises could be discussed and a specific plan zoning proposal could be drafted? After 4 emails, he finally replied, telling me that, quote, "The opposition I have heard to this is from people who want the land to remain untouched. I'm not sure what sort of compromise can be reached with that," end quote. I now hear that Councilman Young has already moved this into the council process. Just found that out. It is this kind of generalization, however, that allows for complete dismissal of those of us who are actually interested in reasonable and respectful compromise, which I am confident is a vast majority. And ultimately, this is the point I'm hoping to make, and that is that those of us whose lives will be significantly impacted by this have not even been able to see a plan, much less offer suggestions that would allow all parties involved to be treated with respect and consideration. And with all of that said, in closing, I'd like to respectfully request that you deny this application or, in lieu of that, postpone the decision on this case until after a date when the applicant, the current residents, and ideally a member of the planning staff can engage in a mediation session to develop a specific plan zoning which would allow for reasonable compromise and mutual respect. Thank you.
Thank you. Swipe off. Listen, okay, so here's the deal. We don't do clapping. We're very professional. We allow everyone to speak. And so if you all would do me a favor, just keep it, don't clap, don't yell. We understand. But we want to hear you speak. We want to hear your arguments. We want to hear your thoughts. So who's next? Come on up. Thank you. Welcome.
Hi. I love Clorox wipes. They're like my favorite thing ever. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me find my glasses. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay, great. My name is Sandra Kent, and I live at 125 Cambridge Court, Goodlettsville, Tennessee, on the Davidson County side. So first I will just say is that Mr. Dell, I'm the one that spoke to him a year or so ago, and frankly, our bylaws do not allow additional entrances, so that was why we told him no. Also, each new development around Windsor Green has deteriorated our property, including erosion from hilltop townhomes, water runoff from apartment and retail developments, and insufficient drainage and culverts that are overwhelmed by the smallest rainfall. We request that the developer provide engineering studies on all these impacts prior to any zoning considerations. Also, a 50-foot buffer is not enough to protect privacy or to provide enough density to counter environmental impacts, including water and fire. If he does not garner his starting price of $400,000 per unit, was to say he does not change the scope of his project and, turn it into rental homes like has happened at, let's see here, the name of that place is Blue Water Point. After you give him this approval, he can basically do whatever he wants. So that's not what we want. I'm paraphrasing a quote here that I saw when I was reading about the Blue Water Point, is that our zoning laws are outdated and can't really differentiate when these companies are doing, which is made harder now that there's a lack of supply. So you cannot guarantee us that by approving this today, he will not change the way he is promoting this property right now. Our councilman, Zach Young, has voiced his support for this development instead of backing hundreds of constituents he already represents. And in his words, he wants to make our area more attractive for additional sit-down restaurants. I've been in the restaurant industry. I was in it for 17 years. Density is not the only thing that they look at. Also, a sprinkler system alone will not provide the proper safety that we need. So thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, who's next? Come on up. Sure, come on up. We'll give one of you 2 minutes and the other another 2 minutes.
We're married, so.
That's fine. We'll give married couples 4 minutes.
I get 3, he gets 1. I'm just kidding. My name is Joey Tydell. This is my husband, Mark. We live at 243 Liberty Lane. We just purchased a new home just a couple weeks shy of a year ago. And something that surprised me when that gentleman was speaking is that this has been in process for over a year. We actually met the owner of the property, Mark Reitzman, sometime in the winter, and he told us he had no plans to sell it, wasn't doing anything with it. His family's owned it for 20 years. And he's come out to the street and talked to a couple of neighbors. I personally haven't spoke with him because I've been at work. But each time he's come or spoke with people, it's a different version of what is going to happen and how the land will be developed. I'm disappointed that Zach left because he said that, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. He is just making it sound like that we don't want the property to be developed. We already know it's zoned to be developed, and we support that. We want it to be single-family homes like what we live in now, what's currently on our street. There are major concerns about the street itself. As Amy mentioned, it was on May 4th, actually, of this year. We were under tornado warnings. We spent the better part of early morning sheltering, waiting for the storm to pass. When it did, my husband and I left for work at the same time, and just past the bridge at Vietnam Veterans, a power line was down, and we were not able to leave for, I think it was 4 or 5 hours. Metro was there blocking the street. And so with no disrespect to Metro Works or the fire chief, I don't see how the street can sustain another 200 homes. Thank you.
We do allow husbands to speak. Go ahead.
Good evening. Mark Tydell, 243 Liberty Lane. Yeah, I was kind of bummed out, Zach Young not sticking around to hear all of us speak, and really kind of bummed out that he left saying one thing, they're worried about the trees getting cut down. That's one of our concerns. We love our area. It's a beautiful area. I don't know if you guys have ever driven down that street, but there's a list of concerns that we have, and one of them is definitely the traffic. If you guys have ever been down Gallatin right there, it backs up all the way from Conference sometimes, with rush hour. Definitely on the weekends. We have a new apartment complex going in on Liberty Lane. We have a Harley Davidson dealership. We have an overfill lot for a Dodge dealership right there. We have Walmart traffic. We have a hotel, I think it's Wood Springs Suites or something like that. A lot of contractors stay there and, go to jobs. So the street already is like a lot of traffic, and some mornings and afternoons, like you try to get on Gallatin and you're waiting a better part of 5 minutes. And I just can't picture 200 more homes back there and, you know, just trying to get out of that street, and it just doesn't make sense. And then, yeah, I did have to take a sick day on May 4th. There was a power line that went down. You know, Metro had it blocked off. I had to call into my office and say, hey, I can't get out to come to work today. So I don't know, it just does not make sense to put 200 more units back there. So I just hope you guys consider all that. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys. Yep. Thanks for wiping it off. All right, who's next? Come on up. That's nice. All right. Please state your name and address, and you may begin.
Already cussing. Hi, I'm Rachel Davis, or Raylyn, and this is my husband, Josh. We live at 251 Liberty Lane, and I first of all agree with the girl from Windsor Green. I think my first main concern is why we have to rezone when right now they can put 240 homes back there without the rezoning, and we don't know what that's going to be. We could rezone it and then totally do something different than what they say they're going to do, because they've told us all a different story. So that's my main concern. So I agree with you on that, girl back there. Anyways, Liberty Lane, we just moved from a multifamily situation, and the reason why we moved to Liberty Lane is because it was a single family home. And we love the fact that we know our neighbors. We love the fact that it feels safe. And for me, I'm really concerned about the safety of our street. Like everybody said, and all of our neighbors, like on May 4th, nobody could get out. And I mean, I'm concerned if we add 200 more homes back there, what it's going to be like for us. It is literally, two people cannot even cross each other right now. I fully support them back there, and I just know that this is going to add a lot of stress to the situation. And I don't know, what do you want to say, babe? You can go.
Yeah. Josh Davis, live at 251 Liberty Lane. I just want to say I appreciate y'all's time and listening to all of us. Means a lot. And I serve in the military, so I'm gone for stints at a time. And so I like to know my family's safe when I'm away, and we have that right now. Not saying it won't be if they develop it or whatever, but I know for right now, we love that community. It's good. I'm more the quiet type, but I really appreciate it, guys.
Another thing too, our property, I'm not the quiet type. Our property buds up to the one that I think Gail's trying to, it's like right up there in the corner. And if it does switch to a multifamily, we're just not confident that they're not going to put 6 homes right next to us, and that would totally change our street and make it not what we want it to be. So anyways, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, who's next? Come on up. Welcome.
All right, can you hear me? Thanks. My name is Claire Wainwright, and I'm a property owner at 236 Liberty Lane, and I'm opposed to the rezoning for several reasons. First and foremost, as those have mentioned before, is the issue of safety. I don't believe it's safe for 200 additional households to be added with only Liberty Lane as the sole entry and exit point. Rezoning the land so that its interior roads under an RM can be considered private and therefore not have to adhere to the same safety standards of entry and exit as a public street with just as many residents makes no sense and is clearly an effort to use a loophole to bypass community safety in the name of profits. We've had down power lines and severe weather block off all entry and exit out of Liberty Lane. So I fail to see how adding hundreds of additional residents where there are currently only about 30 would not make a loss of access a genuine crisis, especially if there were a medical emergency or a fire. I'm also concerned about forest removal, which will change the character of our community and increase traffic noise from Vietnam Veterans Boulevard. I would like to speak with the applicants and the prospective buyer of the property about considering leaving a buffer strip of the existing forest as a noise and visual barrier for existing residents. Most of all, we want to stress that we would just like more information on what's being proposed. Mr. Reitzman has provided misleading and conflicting information to try to get us to sign a letter of support for the rezoning. And my concerns, unfortunately, were largely dismissed by Councilman Young through a formulaic email response that was mainly focused on the Windsor Green neighborhood, which I do not live in. I feel like our voices on Liberty Lane are not being heard, and we're being steamrolled in this process. There's been no effort at good faith community engagement, unlike some of the other items we've heard today. I respectfully ask that the Planning Commission deny the zoning request, and if not, I request that they postpone approval until the applicant has a concrete plan for the use of the land, and ideally we can discuss SP zoning and come to an agreement for development that works for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And who's next? Come on up. Thank you. Welcome. Oh, you gotta turn the microphone on. It's at the base of the microphone, the flat part. There you go.
Okay. Hi, my name is Karen Begaluna, and I live in Windsor Green. I'm a homeowner with my husband, Al. He's over there. And basically, I just wanted to share, I mean, things have already been stated a number of times already, but I think it's just important, if we feel this way, we need to speak up, right? So as a homeowner in Windsor Green, I'm against the changing of the zoning of the Liberty Lane project to RM4. In the current real estate market, the property would sell easily without any zone change, so we're not wanting that. My husband and I actually drove to Liberty Lane to kind of check it out and see what's going on there, and everything that all these people are saying is true. There's really no room there for mass development in any way. And one of the reasons why my husband and I were both from New York City, so when we moved here, we were so happy to live with spacious land, with beautiful grass. I mean, Windsor Green is an amazing place to live, and Liberty Lane, all these areas are just beautiful. But just in the 9 years that we've been living there, it's like we've seen so much change, so much development, residential development and retail development. Just in the last couple of years, we've had a clinic right across the street from us. We've have 2 hotels that were established, and I think there's already like 5 in the whole areas that we're living in right now. So it's just a lot, and it's one thing to want to make money, and have all these developments. But when you actually live in the area, or you live in the area and it's such a beautiful area and it starts to deteriorate because of all these retails, all these things, you no longer want to live there, And my fear is it's going to become a place that we don't want to live. And we're all hardworking people, and we deserve a place to live that we feel a freedom, a peace, a quietness. Work is already challenging, right? Even what you guys are doing all day here. But you want to come home and you want to have peace and quiet. And that's what we want. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Come on up. Welcome.
Commissioners. You said I press the...
It's on.
Okay.
Yep.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Connie Allen, and I moved into Windsor Green over 5 years ago. I had been looking at homes all over Nashville, and when I moved there, it felt like I was going home on vacation after work every day, working downtown at the hospital. And it doesn't feel that way anymore. The property where I live, the home next to me, my neighbor's driveway would go straight up to Liberty Pike. There's an old road that was there at one point, and there's a thicket of trees that come through there, but you can still walk through and make a path at some point, and some people have. I live behind where neighbors behind me on Butterfield. I'm on Entree Court, and on Butterfield, there's widows and retired couple, and they witnessed, we don't know if it's construction workers or some of the homeless people that came back there, but someone was walking through their yard and defecated in their backyard. And she watched this and witnessed it happen, and then they stumbled out. And it's just a safety concern for me and for my neighbors. And one of the ladies that couldn't be here, the widow, she's lived there ever since the subdivision's been built. She said, Connie, I never could used to hear any of the traffic noise. I said, well, me either. When I moved here 5 years ago, I could not hear Vietnam vets and all the things that have been, like she said, has all the trees, the nature part about it is what I fell in love with it. And I am seriously considering moving, and I thought I was going to retire there and stay there the rest of my life. But I don't feel like I can do that now. And if this is zoned the way that it is for those homes, children are going to live there. They're going to get out and explore. And I guarantee you they'll end up in our neighbors' backyards. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Come on up. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for your time. My name is Teresa Parsley, and I live at 111 Cambridge Court, which is in the back of Windsor Green subdivision in Goodlettsville. Yesterday, I sent an email to everybody, so I'm assuming you guys have read that. It's a matter of record, so I won't go into that now. I have only a couple additional comments. What we're asking for is that you respectfully consider our concerns when considering approval of the rezoning for this proposed development. We simply want the integrity of our peaceful community upheld and not compromised. This would include, among other things, reserving a natural forest buffer of at least 200 feet, special attention given to water runoff or drainage issues, preserving the historic stone wall that surrounds our neighborhood, and possibly the original location of Mansker's Fort. That's really all I have in addition to say. It's a big concern to all of us, and we respectfully request that this rezoning request be denied or at least postponed at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I saw a few folks. Come on up. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Leanne Derrickson. This is my father, Vic. We live at 239 Liberty Lane. I guess my question to you is sorry, I get a little nervous. Have you taken the time in your civic duty to go drive our street, see for yourself what we're dealing with, other than just looking at a topical picture and a map? It's totally different. This does not at all explain what we're dealing with. And you will get the fact once you drive down our street that it's not a wide street. It's narrow. We have transient people that live off underneath Vietnam's Vet. We have an abundance of wildlife that we're trying to preserve. So please just go drive it. It's not far from here. Just take a minute and go look for yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr.
I am 2 weeks short.
Lisa, we start. Hold on one second.
Tennessee resident for 1 year. I moved here from Iowa, where I had land, where I had neighbors that were at least a mile away from me. So living in a metropolitan city is really quite a change. My daughter found this house, and I think it's a perfect place. Adding traffic and having all of the traffic that would be brought by the development like this would just totally change our neighborhood. It's quiet, it's peaceful, and we all kind of look after each other, and we don't want things to change. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate y'all. Welcome.
Am I on? Okay, my name is Mitzi Claiborne. I live at 113 Cambridge Court in Windsor Green, and I'm just reiterating what everybody else is saying. Our concerns are all, the same, really. And I do question whether plans will change after this zoning is changed, because I have a house that actually burned, and I'm in the process of rebuilding it. But I was contacted by Mr. Reitzman, and he said he wanted to buy my house. And but he told my neighbor, Sandra, who spoke, that he actually wanted to buy it to get a right-of-way for this area. So I question his, I guess, truthfulness. And so I just wanted to say what I want to say.
Thank you. Anyone else? I think that's it. Seeing no one else, applicant has 2-minute rebuttal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The planning has a purpose. Like when someone comes to my office, the very first thing I'll do is turn on the land use policy. It's the first thing I do. If you look at this property, it's neighborhood evolving, and it's an opportunity zone. It's not meant to be, unfortunately, left as some rural area that has 9 houses on 200 acres, and that's what this has, 9 houses on 200 acres. You heard someone from the public talk about no trash, no pickup, no lights, no ambulance service. This property, it's off the radar. With development, improvements do happen. It won't be off the radar. The conditions that they have on Gallatin Pike, if they're inadequate, a traffic study will be done when this development is proposed, and they'll probably get turning lanes, they'll probably get whatever is necessary if the streets need to be widened, although Public Works told us right now, if you look to your experts, that the street's wide enough, but if there's improvements that need to be done, it will come with development. Although the property has a current entitlement of 250 houses, as I'd mentioned before, the fire marshal does not allow them to develop this into individual lots. The current zoning does allow attached units, so it's not all single family. And so working with the fire marshal, that's why the request is being made for an RM zoning, so that there's flexibility so they can develop 199 units. The zoning code requires buffers. It requires protection of environmental features. It requires trees to remain in areas where they should remain. And so I think that most of the things that I heard from the community will be addressed. They'll be answered when someone files a plan. A lot of their concerns as far as inadequate roads or lack of ability to get out of Gallatin Pike or essential services will all improve. But based upon land use policy, this property is not intended to be 9 houses on basically a private street. It's a public street. So I hope that you'll support the council member who's made a strong recommendation to you and the Planning Commission staff and make a recommendation for approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Council member is not here. He had already spoke. So seeing no one else wishing to speak, I declare the public hearing closed. And Council Lady, you want to go first?
Thank you. And I will address that. I know many of y'all are disappointed that Councilman Young is no longer here, but he had another meeting tonight. Unfortunately, as Mina knows, Greg knows, a lot of times that's what happens when we've got overlapping commissions, committees, and things like that. And so I just wanted to reiterate that's why he spoke earlier and had to leave for another commission meeting. So. And to just further explain to y'all, I know that he had, last time he missed a meeting because we had a case for him and he had stayed. So this is a lot of land here, and so I've got a few questions if we could go over that. with this many units, so let me back up. So the existing, am I correct in saying that the existing zoning here, if they just subdivided by right, they potentially could get this many units or more? If fire's capping them at 200, but based on the land calculation, not compatibility or access, because I know Lisa always has trained me to have that caveat, but if you could go over that.
Yes, that's correct. Under the existing zoning, they could get 279 units just based on land area, and then based on the RM4 district, they could get 221 units. As it's been spoken, the fire marshal and the fire code is, lowering that limit, but based on zoning alone, they could get more units under the existing entitlements.
And so just to make sure that we didn't misprint in our traffic analysis, am I reading it correctly that it will be a decreased use in traffic in the PM peak hour and daily trips?
That's correct.
That is
that's
correct.
So those numbers would be based on the traffic generation, standard traffic generation rates for single family versus multifamily.
Okay, because I'm always surprised when we are moving from a single family to multifamily and the traffic goes down. It just always, I always want to check that because it does seem counterintuitive. And do we know if the roads that will be developed through these parcels will be public or private?
Private.
Private. Okay, and so when the traffic study is done, would the traffic study potentially include and require upgrades to Liberty Lane?
We have John Bogosian with Metro Public Works here, so I think I see John making his way, and he can speak to that.
Hello, John Bogosian, Public Works. So when they come in for permitting, we'll conduct a traffic impact, or we'll have the development conduct a traffic impact study. We'll have them analyze pavement width and address pavement minimums.
And so I'm guessing right now we don't know the width of that street off of anybody's head.
Approximately, it's 20, 22 feet for the majority of the roadway.
Is that a standard Metro street, or what is our minimums?
We have minimums of 18 to 20 feet.
Okay. So that's good. Thank you. I don't think I have any other traffic questions. I think that, anytime we see change like this, oh wait, I do have a question. People's Court, that's closed off. It's kind of hard to tell on here whether that's a real street or not. So that's been abandoned or something?
So People's Court is a public right-of-way, but it's an unimproved public right-of-way. So in other words, it's not accepted for maintenance by Metro. There's, I believe, some of it is built, but I don't believe it's accepted for maintenance. I'm looking that up right now. It might take me a moment, but.
Okay, because where I'm going with that is if there's the opportunity for that to be abandoned to this, for another access point for the parcels, because it is oddly shaped. When you're looking at it from here, it does look like you could do 2 access points, although they're both at the same onto Liberty Lane. And then I think that, the landscape buffer, could y'all review that? I know when we're going from a higher intensity to a lower intensity, there's a landscape buffer requirement. What's the landscape buffer requirement here?
So the RM4 district does not require a landscape buffer when adjacent to another residential zoning district, so there's not a required landscape buffer with the RM4 district.
Okay, but there wouldn't be a landscape buffer if this developed under its existing entitlements, right? So that's not
Correct.
different. Okay. I think overall, it is difficult when we have existing areas and subdivisions like we're seeing here with Windsor Green. They have a lot of cul-de-sacs, and that, you would think that you would want them to connect for better connectivity overall. And if that's something in their their rules or development, that might be something that they can continue to discuss, because that could affect overall the response time into that development. And I would encourage Councilman Young and the community and the developer to engage a little bit more on connectivity in this area, for nothing more than, if it doesn't improve connectivity for the residents, but to improve connectivity for emergency services and things like that. But separate of that, we were just looking at a straight rezone, and I know that's always difficult for the community when you have large parcels of land that is undeveloped, but the community policy here is neighborhood evolving, which allows for typically an increase in density. That's what we usually see with the neighborhood evolving. And this is one of those where the vocabulary we're using does imply that it's an increase in density, when in reality, between the site constraints and of the fire marshal and everything, we're actually lowering the density. And so this is a tough one. And so I would love to hear other people speak. And then I did hear, I'm sorry, I will stop rambling after this. Did I hear them say that there's a historic wall here, and then there's also some sort of fort? Is there a historic site on this property?
There's not a Metro historic designation of anything on the site. I understand there is a history to the site, that there may be some structures on the site, but there's not a Metro historic designation on the site.
Okay, and I'm happy to give advice to Councilman Young that be explored as well as this moves forward in the process. So, but I would love to hear what else everyone else has.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, everybody, again, taking time and, express your concern and so forth. And especially thank you for the military person and serving and saving our country safe. And thank you for the person working in the healthcare industry. And last year, has been so tough. And thank you. And thank everybody as well. So, looking at this puzzle and policy, I understand why, applicant is proposing to RM4. Sometimes just single, our zoning is just single and two family. So RM allow a multi-family housing style. For that, I was thinking about environmental protection opportunity or open space opportunity. I don't dislike that zoning. However, listening to applicant Mr. Dale's, proposal, it really concerned me. It's one way in, one way out. At first glance, I thought People's Court is opportunity to have another connectivity, but I think there's a TVA line in that, parallel to People's Court. So I'm guessing another entryway through People's Court is not possible. Can you confirm that?
So there are power lines, but also, Logan, can you go back a few slides to a broader view? One more. There, that's perfect. So if you see where People's Court is, which it sort of is sharing a bit of right-of-way with Vietnam veterans. And so essentially, as you move east along People's Court, you run into Manskers Creek, which is right along the property line. And so the ability to connect is limited by Vietnam veterans to the south and Manskers Creek to the east. And so, I know that we have sort of internally discussed opportunities for further connection, but it is constrained by those features.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I thought. If we have, more access to southern portion of Liberty Lane, so that will be two exit in and out. But this configuration, I don't see just one way in and one way out. That's the only possibility. So typically, I would appreciate the opportunity to preserve environment by changing RM for, multi-housing. So that will be, opportunity to housing together, stack housing or attached housing. But what concerned me about the comment from Mr. Dale is because of the fire regulation, it will have to be somehow detached. So that will, to me, kind of defeat the purpose of introducing RM20. So I think there's a, opportunity. However, to me, instead of straight zoning to RM, more further discussion such as regulatory SP might be more appropriate because of the constraint of the land and more concern. So as of right now, I am not in favor of RM, proposed zoning. I would love to see more regulatory SP for, appropriate open space, appropriate street connection, and so forth. So, but I would love to hear other commissioners as well.
Commissioner Hanley?
Well, just as my other commissioners would say, we're always thoughtful for all those who've taken the time to come and speak on behalf of the project and those who oppose. This one's tough. I'm new, so I always have to try to remind myself exactly what the purview of us as commissioners are. I mean, it sounds like what I've heard from those who were speaking up was that, again, infrastructure in this neighborhood has failed you guys for a long time. And then I often have to try to balance that and say, how much of a burden do you place on developers as change agents, particularly those who are coming and doing something on behalf of the community plan as it states already, which is neighborhood evolving, a large land area that is set by plan to be densified. But I do have, I will say it's a difficult balance between those previous plans, preserving trees and wanting to keep buffers, as well as the growth of our city, and we have to accommodate that growth somewhere. But I want a clarification, and hopefully it can be made succinctly. Under the current zoning and the current fire code regulations, the maximum amount of units that would be on all the parcels that we see here is 99. Is that correct? And the change allows for it to be 199.
So I'm going to answer to the extent that I'm capable, because
Understood.
I'm definitely not a representative of Metro Fire, but there are different standards depending on if the units are sprinkled. Then if they're sprinkled, then there can be more units than maybe if they're not sprinkled. And so there are a lot of factors that go into it, and so I'm not sure that I can actually speak to that.
Okay, I too have a limited understanding, and so, but what I believe I heard was that it would be maxed out at 199 with the new zoning, but without that, with the single family component, it would probably limit it to less. The other thing, which I I don't mind being called out, and I think it was appropriately done. I'm not as familiar with this area. I've not driven down the street. I did take the time to, go on Google Earth, which was the best I could do in the time frame that I had, and to look through it. And the street does not look that wide. It does not look suitable for, the amount of traffic that may come for this. But again, we're looking at zoning for the parcels that are there, and I think that it needs to change based on what that plan is. But I do think that I agree with my fellow fellow commissioner that it needs to be an SP that has much more in-depth analysis and the presentation of ways to accommodate for that growth. And again, I wish the council member was here to hear all those things. But I'll pass the mic.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Tibbs.
First, I heard that it was already in council. I mean, is there an ability to defer at first? I want to ask that.
Hi, so I did have a chance to look that up. The council bill was filed at the first council meeting in June, meaning it is tracking for a public hearing on July 6th. So there would be the ability to defer for one meeting and for it to still track for that public hearing.
Thank you. Because my is a concern that it seems like the council person and the developer need to have more conversations with the residents. There was like I don't know if you guys even heard it, but Dale, Mr. Dale, you were still talking about the resources and the trees, and they were talking about something totally different. So I even here there wasn't there was a disconnect, even miscommunication, even here. So that would be my first thing. I really would like to see the council person be able just to talk with the neighbors, with you, to really explain everything that's going on. I think that would be my first thing. Is a deferment, and I do agree. Just policy-wise, I don't have a problem with it as far as the zone change, as far as the policy is concerned. But like Commissioner Henley, I do a little Google Drives myself. And there's two trucks on the road in Google, and you can barely get past those trucks on Google. So to think that you'd have 6 extra houses coming down there, I could see a lot of issues. So I would want to not have some, first of all, just assurances. How are you really planning to do that? There's going to be some major road enhancements that would have to happen before you could even think about doing it. So that would be something. I wish there was some way to do something with Peoples, just to have some other access into it. I understand the restrictions toward it, but still, I feel like, there has to be, some other more, I'll just use the word creative, but some other ways to access this site, regardless if you kept it the same or if you upgrade, zone changed, whatever. I wish there was a way to, deal with more connectivity, period, because, we've dealt with that before, with ambulances and fire trucks not being able to service areas and, the potentially dangerous situation those occur. So, and I know that is probably some more communications with, the adjacent development so that could happen as well. But it really seems like what that is going to be. I feel like that would need to have more conversations to try to really broker more, compromise with that. And last, and she may have done it on purpose, but if there's something historic on the site, I definitely, so you can't rely on Metro, Historic Commission because they don't have purview. There has to be overlays. The only time they have jurisdiction over areas, but there are a lot of, historically significant things. And I didn't hear exactly what specifically it was, and I appreciate you reaching out to the councilman to do more exploration on it, but we constantly lose historic significant properties all across, our area. And I would certainly want to have more exploration and understanding of what it is that's being jeopardized by this, development, whatever it might be. So I'd prefer at least as much deferral as we could get so that council can really, he seems like he'd really be interested, from what I've dealt with him on the last other case, he was diligent to talk more and get more into it. And if he could, kind of peel these layers back a little bit, I'd feel more comfortable with a decision to rezone. So that would be where I am right now, is for a deferral for whatever we can get. If we can get a meeting, I'll take it. But, 2 meetings would be better.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Blackshear?
I'm recused from this one, Chair.
That is correct. I forgot that. Thank you. Council Lady?
So if People's Court is a non-improved road or something at this time, how are the parcels to the east? Did I do that right? To the east of here connected? How do you reach those?
So I was able to get a different program open to look into that, and I do think that it actually is a public road that is accepted for maintenance. And I've already chatted with John Bogosian to have someone at Public Works look into any sort of blocking of that road, because that does serve as the access for those other parcels.
Okay, so if that is something we definitely need to know. And maybe we can have some visuals if this is deferred to see, because if People's Court is an accessible public road, then I think that changes a lot of this conversation because of the access point, and I don't know what that does with the fire marshal. But when, I mean, we are just talking about these parcels, but there are several others that could develop at some point, and I think before we make a commitment here, it would be helpful to know more about this People's Court, of whether if it is blocked off, then we as Metro government needs to do our due diligence to clear that, and whoever's liable for it be held accountable. So.
Thank you. So we're ready for a motion. There has been some discussion around a deferral. I think there are some unanswered questions here, Mr. Dale. So, you know, Lisa, did you say we could do a one-meeting deferral?
So I actually was able to get a communication with Councilmember Young, who wanted everyone to know that he was out of his meeting, was not able to make it back here, but was watching all of the comments on the live stream of the meeting. He did indicate that this is now set for a public hearing at the July council public hearing, but he did indicate that he would be willing to defer that public hearing at council to the August public hearing, which would allow this to be deferred to the July 22nd Planning Commission meeting.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. So I think that's, would there be a commissioner willing to make a motion based on that information?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we defer this case until the July 22nd.
July 22nd.
And keep the public hearing open.
And Secretary Kemp, it would be helpful to have some guidance for staff regarding the deferral.
Yes, what I've heard is that there is a direction to understand the function and issues associated with People's Court, and that
clarification on the fire code
clarification issue. On the fire code issue as well. And finally, potentially some interest in a regulatory SP or some governing zoning district that could articulate access and some of the other issues of interest, but maybe not direction as such, but just you're putting it on the record that may be of interest, and a discussion with the community to come to an understanding of what's being proposed. Did I capture everything there?
Did you mention historical?
Oh, forgive me. And then any historic resources that are on the site or features.
Yep.
Got that, Lisa? Thank you. Did I miss anything else?
Chair.
Yes.
Yeah, Commissioner Edley.
I do not want to speak for the commissioner, but it sounded like there may also be some desire to look at impact as it relates to further development down People's Court. So maybe that's what you meant by the street, but just also looking beyond that, if we potentially consider what an SP may look like, is further development beyond just those that are highlighted here.
Sure. So I think, Public Works is here, and so the function of People's Court would be not only for this development, but understanding its function with other parcels. Okay.
So, Commissioner Tibbs, the motion is to defer to the July 22nd meeting. Is that correct?
That's a legal question. Nothing to do with the
So,
merits of the case.
hold on, come on. Mr. Dale, you know that we have to get stuff on record. So come up to the microphone and what is the question?
Yeah, since this is a bill that's already filed in the council, can that bill be amended without it being, I'm thinking maybe like if Councilmember Young could, on the second reading, he could refer this back, maybe with changes, but he can't do that if we don't meet prior to that public hearing. So I mean, is there any issue with that, or explain to me how that would work? I mean, you've got
Hold on, Mr. Dale. Our legal counsel is here and can. and Lisa.
Well, to speak to council process, so zoning bills are a little bit different than other bills in that they're amendable at any point in the process. So they can be amended prior to public hearing, after public hearing, even at third reading. And so zoning bills are amendable throughout the process.
So, but you would have to make a recommendation on what's at the council level, but then you could also make an alternate recommendation, right?
It could be, so we're reviewing what's been submitted at the council, but it can be amended, or we could make a recommendation to say that we're recommending it as amended, and then an amendment could be filed at council level.
I was going to make sure that y'all are able to do.
Thank you, Mr. Joe.
Because I think everybody wants to work together on this. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're in, Commissioner Tibbs is making a motion to defer to the July 22nd meeting, and I'm assuming part of that motion is to keep the public hearing open. There's a lot of information that will come about. Okay, proper motion, is there a second? Commissioner Johnson seconds it, and any other discussion? Make sure we get, seeing no other discussion, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. It's deferred to the July 22nd meeting. I do want to say thank you, everybody, for coming down. It's a pleasure to have you. And you're part of the first true public meeting. Thank you. So now we are on to other business and historic zoning. Mr. Johnson.
Yes, no report at this time. Thank you, Chairman.
Oh, hey, hold on one second. If everybody could just quickly leave and quietly leave as we're still in a public meeting. We'll give you all just a minute to, thank you very much. Just hold on one second. Yeah, just give me a second.
So no report from historic.
No report from historic. All right, so Parks, Commissioner Haynes is not here. Hold on a second, we'll get, hey, Mr. Dale, I know that you will take this party outside. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. All right, so executive committee report. I do want to, I was not here last meeting, I apologize. I just want to say thank you to the commissioners for allowing me to be the chair again. It's really an honor. I love being on this commission. We hear a lot of interesting cases, and I appreciate everyone's thought. And it is my, and I hope that you guys think this as well, is that I always want to be fair. I want to be professional, and I know you all are very passionate, and I appreciate your all's service, and thank you for allowing me to do that. With that said, our first public hearing, in person, fully in person with no call-in. So I want to thank the staff and everyone for being part of the meeting. I talked to the director today. There has been some positive comments on having some kind of our process to allow public engagement. There's been some positive comments about intermingling people that are for a project or opposed to it instead of taking that separately. Now, I'm a student of debate, and usually you don't do that, but so what I told the director was that I want y'all to think about that. We can, it's currently in our rules, we have to do that, but if y'all feel like you've had a positive experience with it, we can always try it. But I think there's pros and cons. So if you would please let the director know if you have thoughts on that or think about it, and we can discuss it even at our next workshop. That's the other thing. I think the director is going to give us a brief update, but we want to keep redistricting kind of on the back of our head because it's coming up. And so I've asked the team to give an update. Mr. Claxton is willing to do that at the workshop because I know you guys may have some questions. If you think about it, if you have some questions, we'll address that, get the information to you. But I want it to be kind of open process so that you all can ask questions instead of here at this meeting. So that was kind of my thought on that, Director.
Perfect.
I don't have anything else on, and
Just to remind folks to please join us at the work session on Tuesday. We're going to be talking about everyone's favorite cluster lot development and our progress. We've been working with the community. We've been working with environmental experts. We've been working with folks in the development services side. So we've been trying to talk with everybody, and we want to give you, we're not giving you a recommendation just to set your expectations, but we do want to give you an update because it's complex enough to share with you where we are and get some guidance from you if you think we're going in the right direction. And then we will certainly talk about the redistricting, a status update on where we are, our conversations with council members, and what we think the process is going to look like moving forward. So I always want to thank Councilwoman Murphy for her good guidance on the redistricting and where we're headed here. So anyway, that's it for me. And I do want to say thank you. The challenge of managing remote meetings has been really extraordinary. And when I mean, just thinking about the amount of time that the staff has spent trying to figure out how to run a credible public hearing, but also to hold good public meetings in a remote fashion, keeping everyone safe, has just been immense. And I do want to thank Lisa and the ITS team, if they're out there, and Sean and Letitia and everyone who really put in a lot of time to make that happen. Because when you go to planning school, you're not trained to do that. And so we all had to stretch and learn that it felt a little bit weird not to have Sean talking to you at this meeting, Chairman. But I think we're happy to be here we are. So thank you again for all your patience and support. What did I do?
I'm here to help.
Thank you.
Thank you,
I was letting
Director.
everybody talk or something?
No, the wrong button.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
It's okay.
I'm an embarrassment.
No, great. Thank you, Director. That's very helpful. Legislative update.
Thank you. So next week, we have the council on Monday night will take up the capital improvements budget in a joint meeting with the budget committee. And there have been some amendments filed. Some are just housekeeping, like I've got a stormwater project that has come up after we pass through our process. So I need to get that in there. But I know Councilman Mendez has some more substantive changes. So y'all might want to just, or I can report back, I guess, as well at our work session. And then the operating budget will be coming up the following evening and things. So you still have time to call your council member, except for if I'm yours, to make sure that the planning budget stays intact.
Thank you, Council Lady. We appreciate that. Next meeting is June 24th, and so is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
We're adjourned.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.